sister of Hangwani Maumela. Evidence leader Matthew Chaskelson suggested Karim was assisting Maumela in circumventing a preservation order laid on him by SARS.
If the contract was in fact procured by fraud and corruption, then the proceeds of that SAPS Medicare 24 contract are proceeds of crime. And that raises an issue under Section 5 of POCA, the Prevention of Organised Crime Act. What Section 5 says is that a person commits a criminal offence, a money laundering offence, if they ought reasonably to have known that certain amounts were proceeds of crime.
Karim says he never intended to commit any fraud or money laundering and that he was just doing his work as a businessman. He continues with his testimony today. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
Recovery operations for 4 miners trapped in a shaft are continuing in the Northern Cape more than 20 days since the incident. 5 workers were trapped last month when a shaft at Ekapa Resources and Ekapa Minerals was hit by a mudslide. A body was discovered yesterday, but recovery efforts have been hampered by financial problems. Alfara Mushwana reports.
Ekapa Minerals and Ekapa Resources previously announced that it would take about 18 months to access the mine shaft where 5 workers were trapped. At the time, the company said restoring access to the shaft would require significant investment, which it was unable to secure due to financial constraints. The body of one of the 5 trapped miners has since been recovered, but there is no indication that search and rescue teams are close to locating the remaining 4 workers. The mine says recovery operations underground are continuing, with teams working to reach the areas where the other miners were last reported to be working. Meanwhile, the mine has since announced that it has applied for liquidation. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
Gauteng Finance MEC Lebogang Maile has warned about the growing pressure on the province's more than 175 billion rand adjusted budget as demand for services continues to rise. Maile, who is tabling the province's budget today, previously said Gauteng was struggling to meet increasing needs driven by rapid population growth and unemployment. At the same time, Gauteng's revenue sources have been declining, with the situation made worse by, among other things, owing municipalities. Demakatso Leshoro has more.
Gauteng's financial strain comes as the province must balance its core spending responsibilities such as education, healthcare and social services with major infrastructure commitments. These include plans to expand the Gautrain network and a pledge of close to 1 billion rand to repair and upgrade water infrastructure. Gauteng is also paying off debt linked to the failed e-toll system. The provincial government says it's already paid about 10 billion rand toward the debt, with a further payment expected in the coming months. Meanwhile, the province is struggling to keep pace with demand for new schools as the population grows, while some programs such as scholar transport have faced under budgeting. Adding to the pressures is the ever-rising public sector wage bill. Timakato Leshoro, Eyewitness News.
And President Donald Trump says the U.S. will end the war in the Middle East soon, reassuring markets that have been thrust into chaos since it began 10 days ago. Tensions escalated when the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran, aiming to dismantle its nuclear and ballistic missile programs, eliminate its leadership and force regime change. The war has since sent stock markets slumping and oil prices soaring. Iran has signaled that the strategic Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical shipping routes, would likely remain closed. Speaking at a media briefing in Florida, Trump predicted a quick end to the conflict.
On Iran, you called it an excursion. You said it would be over soon. Are you thinking this week it will be over?
No,
Are you talking
but soon.
about days?
I think soon.
Okay, and with respect
Very
to
soon.
But Iran's Revolutionary Guards have replied saying they and not the Americans will determine the end of the war. Gold is trading at $5,136.91 an ounce. The rand is at 16.51 to the dollar, 22.13 to the pound, 19.14 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $93.77 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays already along the Mark 1 North approaching the Crown turnoff. Peak time pressure piling up there. There's also queuing traffic on the N1 North between the N12 exit and the Deep Kloof interchange.
And in your sport, Bafana coach Hugo Broos includes USA-based defender Alberto Macania in his preliminary squad for the upcoming friendlies with Panama. Manchester City drawn to face Liverpool in the quarter-final of the FA Cup. And in tennis, 3 of the men's top 10 seeds are out of Indian Wells.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. Johannesburg starting at 10 degrees, peaking at 24. Pretoria 12 and 27. For the Vereeniging 10 and 25. The top story in EWN this hour. Evidence leaders at the Madlanga Commission say controversial businessman Suleiman Karim may be referred for prosecution related to money laundering.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
On 702.
Let's walk the talk.
7 minutes after 6 o'clock. Welcome to 702 Breakfast on this Tuesday. It's a brand new day. And of course, the date today is the 10th of March, the year of our Lord, 2026. Welcome to the program. On our menu today, we're focusing on that conflict in the Middle East and how does it affect you? Often there are stories, these investigative reports done by Bongani or Carte Blanche or Daily Maverick or any of the outfits that expose wrongdoing in South Africa. And you may remember in December 2015, it seemed innocuous enough. The sale of our crude oil stocks, I think we had 10 million barrels. They were sold at the princely sum of $29 a barrel. What does that mean all these years later in this crisis? Do we have enough reserves if the conflict in the Middle East extends for many more months? Donald Trump said it was going to be a 4 to 5 week campaign. He's been boasting that, in fact, the Americans are already ahead of their targeted objectives. But what if it doesn't work out that way? What if ultimately they're going to need to put boots on the ground? If this thing drags out for months, what will it mean for oil prices? What will it mean for the availability of fuel in South Africa?
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
On 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Of course, at the time, the energy minister, such as she was, denied it. Tina Johannesburg, remember her? She of the cow licking the fire. Do you remember that? We have lived in South Africa. Muteo Haripe, do you remember the cow licking the fire? And do you remember that?
You know the picture? I remember that. I do. I have also have a picture of her.
Before you tell us of the picture, and I think I know what picture and what she's doing.
Licking and stuff. Yes.
Just remind us again, if you can, what was the whole thing for anybody who was, I don't know, out of the country, off the planet, when Tina Johannesburg spoke about a mother licking the cow and the fire, and what was that all about? Do you remember?
I don't know what the car was about, but I do remember that we sold our oil reserves. I think 10 million barrels worth of the stuff that we had on reserve. In fact, our refineries are almost non-existent in South Africa because we let go of some of those assets, and it's now coming to bite us because if we did have reserves, we wouldn't be worrying about what is happening on the Strait of Hormuz.
It's a classic case of, in your family, in your home, maybe when you were growing up as a child, you would see something that stayed, I don't know, did you have a display? Did you have a display cupboard growing up, right? Or the wall unit, a room divider, as many of us would have called it. You see what looks like a random artifact. It really doesn't mean very much to you. And so you steal it and you take it to school to show off your friends and you think you'll sneak it back. And then a friend steals it from your bag. And then it's gone, and then you're in trouble, and then you deny that you ever took it in the first place. I mean, it's a classic case of that. And then it turns out that the thing that you thought was a toy was something enormously valuable, and you just didn't know what it was. That's exactly what seems to have happened here. We had these oil reserves, these fuel reserves, I should rather say, that's the more accurate term, these fuel reserves, and I don't know if the players at the time really understood what it was that we had and what it was they were giving away. They thought nobody would notice. And this all goes back to the 1970s when we again had a crisis in exactly this region. The old regime set up that National Fuel Fund, right?
Yeah, the Strategic Fuel Fund, somebody might scoff at it, but it was like, 21 days of fuel reserves, and in a crisis like this, if we ever to run out, 21 days buys you time to try and solve the problem. If you don't have that, it's a different story altogether.
So we're going to be speaking to the AA, the Automobile Association. They're going to come in studio and tell us exactly what we are facing. Could we run out? Could we get to even a stage where there is rationing of fuel? Never mind it being unaffordable. We'll speak to them. We'll also speak to the Deputy Director General in the DMR, who's focused specifically on mineral and petroleum regulation. And they'll tell us what the future will look like. I mean, obviously, everybody hopes this thing will end quickly and we just move on with our lives, not least the people who are being affected all over the Middle East, who are facing bombardment everywhere in the Middle East, in Iran and in the Gulf states that have been affected by all of this. So hopefully it all goes away. But if it doesn't, might we have a real crisis on our hands?
You're with Bongani Bingwa.
7:02 weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
Our shout out is very much along those lines, because what we want to do is to tell you how and why this will impact you. But we want to obviously bring you the people in the know and bring you real information versus speculation. I want to know from you, though, have you heard any outlandish theories, conspiracy theories even, about what is unfolding in the Middle East? And what have you had to dispel? The team and I, the producers who work behind the scenes, I was chatting this morning to my producers, Baphelile and Siamtanda, and they were talking about having to tell relatives, those relatives who are retired, you know, those who have a lot of time to watch YouTube videos, who may not readily distinguish between AI-generated videos and the real thing, and who are telling them all sorts of things about what they think might be happening. Have you heard, have you had to dispel anything that you thought was a little outlandish about what's going on in Iran and in the Middle East right now? It comes in the wake of, I mean, it really is quite unbelievable. This is happening in the US. There is a military watchdog in the US, and essentially it works with the US military, and they are saying that they've received complaints from soldiers in America. These are servicemen and women who are upset, or at least a little unhappy, because this is the Military Religious Freedom Foundation. It's a watchdog in the military, and they've received over 2,000 complaints. This is servicemen who are claiming that their commanders are using Christian rhetoric to justify the war on Iran. They're talking about Armageddon and the return of the Christ, and this is the Gog and Magog prophecy that was foretold, and that's what's unfolding in the Middle East. And so they're saying to these servicemen, some of their commanders are even saying, this is your opportunity to get right with the Lord, because it could all end. The world is ending. People have already been speculating about, is this the start of World War III? That kind of rhetoric is not going to go away. What have you heard? Let us know. 072 702 1702.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
We're also keeping an eye, of course, on developments at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. And yesterday, it was day 73 of hearings, and tempers flared when the witness who was due to testify, one Manga, not Manga, sorry. Did I say Manga? Manga? No, didn't say that. When one Suleiman Karim's lawyer, Camille Premid, clashed with the commission secretary yesterday, Dr. Nolita Vukuza, over seating, who got to sit where. The confrontation followed the commission's decision to deny Karim's request to testify in camera, which essentially means in a closed session without the eyes and the glare of the media. They were claiming, of course, that he's facing death threats, and the chair, Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga, stepped in to restore order.
During the break, it was brought to our attention that there was an altercation inside the auditorium. It has also since been brought to our attention that this is now all over television. For the record, I think in the light of the broadcast, I should bring it to the public that we called all the legal representatives outside, and we were briefly advised as to what had taken place. But most importantly, Mr. Premhid tendered an unequivocal apology to the Commission Secretary, which the Commission Secretary accepted. I think we should leave it there.
Well, that's what's unfolding at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. And of course, things got heated yesterday. Once this witness was cross-examined, this is Suleiman Karim, yesterday defending the fact that he claimed to be relying on Brown Mokgotsi for updates on that South African Police Services tender. It really just got all murky and convoluted. But have a listen and tell me if you can follow.
Commissioner, Mr. Mohammed has access to the med system. He knows.
He's got access to
the Medicare system.
Mm-hmm.
When I was asking Brown about payments, Brown Mokgotsi, that was from when Mr. Matlala said payments are in. That was from the SEP system. Mr. Mohammed didn't have access to the SEP system. He only had access to Medicare system.
I understand that. I'm asking you a different question. You would have known or should have known through your person in Medicare that payments, remember what you say in your statement, is Mr. Mokgotsi is not paying, Mr. Matala is not paying you, you're getting nervous, it's now December and you're not receiving any payment. You then ask Mr. Mokgotsi whether Mr. Matala is getting work, that's the first thing you say, and then two, whether he's receiving payments. You ask Mr. Mokgotsi that, who's not in SAPS, so he will go to his contact. But you have a person inside. It doesn't make sense to me that you would have a person inside and you don't say to that person, are payments coming in? Is this company getting work?
Yes, I had that information. We knew there was, but we were not getting paid. The only person that could check if we're not getting paid was Mr. Mokgotsi.
Did you make sense of what he was saying yesterday? The repeated contradictions and slithering to get out of his own explanations and his own version. We know, of course, the commission has been given an extension by the president, and that's what happened yesterday at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.
And now,
It's back to breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
19 minutes after 6. Mateo Kharipa, you've got a question of your own?
Yeah, I want to know this morning, is there something you changed about yourself that proved to be a not so popular decision amongst your friend group?
How much
work?
time do you have? You're talking to a former preacher. How do you think walking away from that might have turned out? You're going to have to wait for this book I'm writing.
Are people still praying for you?
To get those details. Where are we? This is 2026. 17 years later, I think some of them might have really worn out knees if they are. Amo?
Oh, well, I'm still stuck
He's
on your
asking both
punchline.
of us.
No, I'm stuck on your punchline.
No, the awkward silence was necessary. It was
Did I drop the mic?
No, you did. You definitely did. Listen, I stopped eating meat for about 11 years. And then I went back to eating meat. And then I stopped again. And then when I went back to eating meat, it was like a shock because people were just like, especially my friends, they were, you know, when you go to lunch dates or you go visit a friend and they prepare a meal that is specific for you. And then
now you're eating meat
now
again.
I'm like, no, now I do eat meat. It was like, no,
You're
man.
a problem also.
I can
Yeah,
see
it was
why.
unpopular.
That was not
see why that
popular.
might not have been popular.
702.
Weather.
21 after 6. What conditions can you expect on this 10th of March? Temperatures in Johannesburg peaking at 24 degrees, Pretoria 27 and 25. And then, oh my goodness, watch out, Cape Town. It is going to be blistering hot. A high of 39 degrees. We have to double check these figures, and that's what the weather service has confirmed. So if you are in Cape Town, it's going to be a really, really hot day for you. Gqeberha and East London both peaking at 27, Durban 26.
EWN Traffic.
Black Sheep Thinking is powered by Camisa Asset Management. Invest differently, better for investors for over 20 years. Camisa Asset Management is a licensed FSP. Amma, what are you seeing on the roads?
Well, we start with roadworks that are taking place in the Germiston area right near the Geldenhuys interchange. Delays coming out of the airlines turned off. About a 20-minute hold up there already. And if you are traveling on the Mike 1 North, we've got bumper-to-bumper traffic between Xavier Street and the Crown turn off that's due to peak time delays. There's also peak time pressure reported in the city of Tshwane along the R80 East Mabopane Highway just as you approach Eskom Patlele Drive. Please be on the lookout there. And if you come across anything else, we're an exit EWN traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. 702.
Add your voice.
Have your say.
Let's walk the talk.
Morning, Bongani. It's Veronica from Sprayview. You know, Mr. Karim is in trouble. If he's facing Poker Act, money laundering, according to Poker Act, he's facing 30 years in jail or 100 million fine. Yeah, this is what money laundering does. And I don't think he should be the only one. What about Maumela? That Maumela is featured in most of the cases, but we have never heard anything about it, except for those cars. I hope he will appear in Matlanga Commission too, because that will be unfair that other people are appearing and he just in the picture. Yeah, it's so sad. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Is it really? Is it sad that this commission has opened the lid on what really happens behind the scenes as far as these tenders are concerned? Because what was at issue yesterday was monies that were moving and exchanging hands. Was it your money? Right? He kept insisting that he had received 2.5 million rand, 750,000 rand, which he then was instructed to pay on to a third party. And so the question from the commissioners was, all right, just clarify us. Were you a conduit for the money? In other words, it was never yours. That's where the money laundering charge could come in. And he kept saying, no, I was told to pay it, but it was my money. Well, which is it? Both things can't be true at the same time. Commissioner Sesi Baloyi insisted, and he just tried to slither out of his way. And what's important around this, of course, is there will be recommendations from the commission in its report, but there'll also, no doubt, be charges that will flow from all of this. And so whether someone is implicated in terms of the evidence that is proffered at the commission and they themselves don't appear, law enforcement and the NPA are going to have to look at what those implications are. And purely on that basis, you could be charged even if you never show up at the commission itself.
Start your day with Bongani Bingwa
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
All right, as I say, President Ramaphosa then extending the timelines for the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Another 5 months they've been given to continue to dig into allegations of corruption and political interference in South Africa's criminal justice system. The actress Sharon Stone celebrates her 68th birthday today. She was born in 1958. The award-winning actress is best known for unforgettable roles in films like Casino and, of course, Basic Instinct. She's returned to the screens in Nobody 2, which premiered on Showmax yesterday. I suppose we will say, watch it whilst you still can. Happy birthday, Sharon Stone. Isn't it extraordinary? And I've said this before. Sharon Stone was born in the same year as Anita Baker and Michael Jackson. Isn't that interesting? If I remember correctly, I think Madonna, the pop star, was also born in the same year. Would you think Auntie Anita Baker and Sis Madonna were born in the same year? As I say, over 2,000 complaints filed with the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, U.S. troops saying their commanders are using religious rhetoric, specifically Christian rhetoric, to justify the war in Iran. They're saying these troops are being told, I don't know if you saw those visuals of religious leaders in the White House praying over Donald Trump, touching his shoulders, and they're all extending their arms. And they're saying the troops, their commanders are telling them that that proves that Trump is an anointed leader to take them through Armageddon, and that this is the Gog and Magog prophecy of biblical times unfolding. And I'm just wondering what fake news or conspiracy you might have heard, even perhaps had to dispel or double check about the war in Iran. We told you of a story, I think it was a week or so ago, and it has really sparked a serious ethical debate. The Health Minister, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, has now stepped in and says a Joburg hospital may have to turn to the courts to proceed with a liver transplant for a critically ill 15-year-old from Mpumalanga. Remember I told you about this teenager's family who are Jehovah's Witnesses who say he may not receive a blood transfusion, which of course is what you might need if you're going to have a liver transplant. You're going to lose a lot of blood. The family say their faith prevents them from allowing this, and really what the health minister is saying is that the right to life supersedes all others, including your right to your beliefs. And it was on this day in 1979, a disco anthem that took over the world. Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive hit #1 on the Billboard charts, and it remains the ultimate disco anthem, does it not?
I just walked in to find you here with that sad look upon your face. I should have changed that stupid lock. I should have made you leave your key. If I'd have known for just 1 second you'd be back to bother me. Oh, now go. Walk out the door. Just turn around now. 'Cause you're not welcome anymore. Weren't you the one who tried to hurt me with goodbye? You think I'd crumble? You think I'd lay down and die? Oh, no, not I. I will survive. Oh, as long as I know how to love, I know I'll be alive. I've got all my life.
702.
The newspapers.
There I was. If you're watching the live stream on YouTube, I am singing my lungs out, off air, of course, because it's just too early to have heard that shouting. And KG so rudely.
The listeners are so
cut
lucky.
me. Wow. Sfiso Zulu, what's in the newspapers? Gosh, with friends like you, I will survive. Sfiso, I will survive. What's in the papers?
The thing is, I don't even have headphones on. You have headphones on. You can't hear yourself.
What's in the papers?
Bongani, while the war in the Middle East continues, some developments in U.S. domestic politics are happening. So the FBI has obtained records from the Arizona Senate that's connected to an audit of the 2020 presidential election, particularly at the Maricopa County. So that audit was led by Republicans, and it was supposed to check the 2020 election results, and it actually confirmed that Joe Biden won that county, and this is despite Donald Trump crying out loud and saying that there was votes were stolen, and now federal authorities are looking into records related to those claims. And the Arizona Attorney General actually says that this could be an example of using law enforcement to chase debunked conspiracy theories rather than a normal investigation.
All right, front page of the Business Day, the rand might weaken as much as 1763 this year if this conflict in Iran continues for 6 months or more. This is according to the professional services firm EY Parthenon. The Citizen, will we run out of fuel? They are asking, and they've got a big, really big front page picture with smoke billowing from the site of an Israeli airstrike in the southern suburbs of Beirut yesterday. And the Sowetan minister steps in to save teen. Motsoaledi calling for court action to help this ailing boy undergo a liver transplant with a blood transfusion.
EWN Business.
It's EWN Business, brought to you by Volvo. Experience the best of both worlds with plug-in hybrids, electric when you want, and fuel when you need it. Mateo wants to know decisions we've made that weren't popular with those around us. Maybe resigning from a job, changing your name, going on a hiatus. One of the most difficult things is to take a break from drinking and avoiding having to explain why.
Yeah.
Aren't you drinking? Why? It's just one drink.
We always drink.
Come.
Yeah.
Do you have a problem? Do you have a drink? Yay. What prompts your question?
Bongani car maker Audi's decision to drop its interlocking rings logo in the Chinese electric vehicle market has backfired so far. They
No.
dropped the rings. And
They're all about the rings.
They introduced the word Audi in all caps because they were going for a younger, sleeker, tech-heavy market.
No. If it ain't broke,
Don't
try to fix it.
So Audi's new electric vehicles in China were branded with a specialized brand, Audi in all caps, designed to appeal to younger market and more tech-heavy drivers. While the debut model, the E5 Sportback, has garnered critical acclaim, the cars are not moving from the showroom floors. According to data compiled by Bloomberg Intelligence, only 605 units were sold in January. In comparison, Tesla moved around 69,000 cars in January alone.
Wow, that is a whipping.
Yeah, exactly. So although their fuel cars are still doing well in the Chinese market, the electric vehicles have been hampered by this logo change.
They are the lords of the rings.
Exactly.
Leave it
They're
alone.
known for that, and they've since changed it, and of course it hasn't worked out for them, but they definitely need to get it going because China buys around 11 million electric vehicles a year, so you want to have a big fat slice of that cake.
What were your indicators?
Well, the rand at 16 rand 37 against the US dollar, down 0.5% at 18 rand 99 cents against the euro, and 21 rand 96 cents against the British pound. Price of gold at $5,157 an ounce, or platinum is at $2,177. Brent crude now at $94.48 a barrel, falling 10% overnight, but still quite high in terms of that oil price. More business after 7.
Remember when you had to hurry up and wait, and cars could only run on fossil fuels? Well, hurry up and catch up. You don't need diesel power, you just need a second electric motor. With Volvo plug-in hybrids, you can drive electric in the city, switch to fuel for the long haul, or combine both when you want it all. So what are you waiting for? You're late for your test drive. It's safe to be brave with Volvo.
Time now for your latest Eyewitness News. All right, Sfiso Zulu. Every year for the last 51, this year will be no different. My birthday will fall on the 1st of September. Guess what I'll be reading the day before? Hopefully.
That's right, Bongani. You could be reading the report of the Madlanga Commission, or the final report that is, and it's been extended by 5 months. When the President Cyril Ramaphosa established the commission, the terms of reference stated it had to submit its final report within 6 months of commencing its work. Those 6 months expire on the 17th of March, but the President is now expecting the final report by the 31st of August, just before your birthday, Bongani. Tabiso Goba reports.
When President Cyril Ramaphosa established the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, he emphasized he didn't want it to drag on like previous ones. However, the presidency says it granted the extension due to the high number of outstanding witnesses that still have to testify. The commission has experienced a number of delays due to witnesses falling ill at the last minute, some challenging their subpoenas and other administrative challenges. The commission is still at phase 2 of its work, where implicated people are being given a chance to respond to allegations leveled against them. The third and final phase involves the return of some witnesses for further cross-examination. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
Gauteng Finance MEC Lebogang Maile has warned about the growing pressure on the province's more than 175 billion rand adjusted budget as demand for services continues to rise. Maile, who's tabling the province's budget today, previously said the province was struggling to meet increasing needs driven by rapid population growth and unemployment. And at the same time, Gauteng's revenue sources have been declining, with the situation made worse by, among other things, owing municipalities. Dimakatso Lishoro has more.
Gauteng's financial strain comes as the province must balance its core spending responsibilities such as education, healthcare and social services with major infrastructure commitments. These include plans to expand the Gautrain network and a pledge of close to 1 billion rand to repair and upgrade water infrastructure. Gauteng is also paying off debt linked to the failed e-toll system. The provincial government says it's already paid about 10 billion rand toward the debt, with a further payment expected in the coming months. Meanwhile, the province is struggling to keep pace with demand for new schools as the population grows, while some programs such as scholar transport have faced under budgeting. Adding to the pressures is the ever-rising public sector wage bill. Timakatso Leshoro, Eyewitness News.
And G7 Nations say they are ready to make necessary measures to support the global supply of energy after the US-Israel war with Iran sent oil prices surging. But a meeting of G7 finance ministers and the International Energy Agency ended without an agreement to release strategic crude reserves. The oil price reached nearly $120 that is a barrel yesterday over fears of a lengthy disruption to supplies before falling back sharply after US President Donald Trump raised some hopes that the war would soon end. At a virtual meeting, the option of releasing oil from stockpiles was one of several discussions. A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng today. The temperatures are at lows of 10 and 12 degrees, peaking at highs between 24 and 27.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N3 North. Roadworks are taking place along this route right near the Van Buren Road exit. Please be on the lookout there. Expect about a 20-minute hold-up coming out of the Elands turn off while traveling on the Markwa North bumper-to-bumper traffic between Xavier Street and Carr Street.
The top story this hour, the deadline for the Madlanga Commission's final report has been extended by 5 months.
For over 30 years, Bid Air Cargo has been keeping South Africa's supply chain moving, giving our economy the dedicated cargo capacity it needs. Whether it's really, really urgent, oversized, or hazardous, when a shipment has to fly, we make it happen. Linking all major airports with reliable freighter services, our promise delivers. Bid Air Cargo. Every kilo counts.
For many women, a CV often becomes a list of qualifications, titles, and experience, whilst the strengths that shape real success remain overlooked: empathy, resilience, and the ability to lift others. Momentum's She Owns Her Success campaign celebrates those invisible success codes, the qualities that may not appear on a traditional CV but leave a lasting mark. Using Momentum's AI-powered CV builder, women can now bring those strengths to life. Visit sheownshersuccess.co.za and build a CV that reflects the fullness of who you are.
Remember when you had to hurry up and wait, and cars could only run on fossil fuels? Well, hurry up and catch up. You don't need diesel power, you just need a second electric motor. With Volvo plug-in hybrids, you can drive electric in the city, switch to fuel for the long haul, or combine both when you want it all. So what are you waiting for? You're late for your test drive. It's safe to be brave with Volvo.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
South Africa has steadily built up its trade relations, very broadly put, in the Middle East and in the Gulf. And I would assume there must be exporters who either can't get their goods there, or if they are going to get their goods there, it would be with significant compromise to their margins. What sectors of the South African economy might be affected if this conflict goes on longer?
It's countries that aren't in the Middle East so much. A fuel supply disruption affects global production. That's an indirect impact via the negative impact on the global economy.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Coming up in the next hour, What's the Question? It's brought to you by Outsurance. 3,000 Rand in cash is up for grabs. So send us an answer based on something you heard that piqued your interest during the show. For that, you win $1,000. Simply WhatsApp us your name and the answer to 072 702 1702. Then later, someone gets to ask a question to win 2,000 Rand. You always stand a better chance of being selected if you have SMS'd out to Outsurance and got yourself a quote. So SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on your car insurance.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Bongles, just as a marketing campaign will use things like Coca-Cola is the best soft drink in the world, and Pepsi will dispute this fact. So in war, you control the narrative so that the people of the world will see things the way you want it seen. And Iran and America and Israel, all three players are doing the necessary, because the media war is more important than the missiles that rain down on those countries.
Who's winning the propaganda war, I suspect, is really the nub of what you are saying there. And how do you decipher through the propaganda and get to the real facts, particularly, of course, when both sides are, as you've just heard there in that voice note, are not only trying to win with the missiles and the bombs, but are trying to win public support and sympathy. How do you decipher fact from fiction? Well, that's what we're here for.
EWN Sport.
Coming up on 702, we're going to look at how one breakthrough idea and unconventional thinking reshaped the world and delivered better outcomes in black sheep thinking. It's powered by Camisa Asset Management. Invest differently. Camisa Asset Management is a licensed FSP. In the meantime, let's go to your world of sport. Cindy Paluta, very good morning to you.
Morning, Bongani.
Let's talk football.
Yes.
Bafana.
Yes, because Bafana coach Hugo Broos named a prelim squad of 38 for the friendlies with Panama later this month. And a lot of fans have been asking why he never includes USA-based defender Olweto Makanya. And the good news is Makanya is included in that squad that will be trimmed down closer to the time. He also recalled midfielder Temba Zwane and striker Ikram Reyners, 5 players from the recent AFCON miss out, including Batusi Obas and Sipho Mbuli. And of course, all of this in the build-up to the World Cup that is in June, July. German Bundesliga side Leipzig will tour South Africa in May. They're scheduled to play Mamelodi Sundowns in Pretoria. Sundowns are in action in Rustenburg tonight, taking on Orbit College, where a win would put Sundowns 3 points clear at the top. Nedbank Cup draw for the semi-finals was done last night. The Premiership sides avoided each other as TS Galaxy will play Milford, Durban City against Castrick Stars. The quarter-final draw for the FA Cup sees Manchester City against Liverpool. Arsenal will take on Southampton. Chelsea drew Port Vale and West Ham will host Leeds. This after West Ham beat Brentford on penalties last night. Their game finished 2-2. We're into the round of 16 in the Champions League tonight. First leg, 4 games where Galatasaray host Liverpool. Spurs have travelled to Atletico. Atlanta welcome Bayern and Barcelona are taking on Newcastle. Newcastle boss Eddie Howe.
Well, we've never been in this position in the Champions League before, and it's the best competition there is. So I think for obvious reasons, I think it's a massive game in our history, and we need to approach it that way. We need the supporters to think that way, and we need to try and find some energy from somewhere that will elevate our performance to a level that we've not seen before this season, because I think that's the only way we get through.
And in tennis, the round of 32 at Indian Wells saw 3 of the men's top 10 seeds being knocked out: Demina, Fritz and Bublik, while Djokovic needed 3 sets to advance. On the women's side, the 8th seed Andreeva and Marion Keys are out. Pagula is through with Swiatek and Svitolina. Cindy Paluta, Eyewitness News Sport.
The Brainy Kids of the Whiz Quiz.
On 702.
Morning, my name is Luciedi. I am 13 years old. I am in grade 8 and I attend school at DeFakel High School. When I grow up, I want to be a gynecologist. I am excited to play the Whiz Quiz with Uncle Bongani.
Oh, Lisedi, will you bring us some light? Will you bring us the stars? 10,000 Rand is up for grabs.
702.
Coming up at 7:15, the big interview.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. There are roadworks affecting traffic on the N3 North. Amo, it's 7:15. What are you seeing?
That's correct, Bongani. And as a result, you do have about a 20-minute hold-up between the Airlines Interchange and Van Buren Road. If you want to avoid this backlog, please try to use the N17 West as well as the R59 North into the CBD. While traveling in the CBD area, we've got an accident reported on Joe Slovo Drive. It happened near Abel Road. It is causing heavy traffic volumes. There's also queuing traffic on the Mike 1 North between Xavier Street and Carr Street, and that's due to the peak time delays at this time of the morning. I'll have more updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You know that feeling when you discover an awesome new series to binge? Well, that's how good it feels to see the Outsurance pointsmen on your route. Less stress in traffic, knowing they're on the roads. The Outsurance pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so everyone can get to where they need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In proud partnership with 702, Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Part of the 702 family.
Hello, my name is Yolanda from Beauty and Treats. I actually live in Melville. 702 means for me changing the narrative and also being very informative. Thank you for listening.
Welcome to our 702 family. Let's walk the talk.
Mzansi is raining millions with Powerball and Powerball Plus, now at 124 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Tuesday. So don't delay, make it rain. Lots of cash. This March by playing Powerball, 84 million rand, and Powerball Plus for 40 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app or cell phone banking. Panda, Pusha, Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Let's hear from Dr. Armand, owner of Monument Dental, why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance.
It was one call and I was covered immediately. We are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
For dentistries, general medical practices, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
You're with Bongani Bingwa.
7:02 weekday mornings, 6 to 9 a.m.
13 minutes to 7 o'clock. Our big interview is going to focus on what will the Middle East conflict, the war in Iran specifically, mean for fuel in South Africa. Do we have enough reserves if this thing drags out for a really, really long time? What will the price at the pumps be? But I also want you to listen to how this is being framed in the US of A. In Miami yesterday, Donald Trump called what's now been, 10 days of war in Iran. He's called it a short-term excursion. But one of the things I thought was quite extraordinary was how he says that some of these soldiers who have had to be involved, in the sinking of the ships, were having a good time. They were enjoying it as if they were playing a video game. It's really unbelievable. Have a listen.
Together with our Israeli partners, we're crushing the enemy in an overwhelming display of technical skill and military force. Iran's drone and missile capability is being utterly demolished. The Navy is gone. It's all lying at the bottom of the ocean. 46 ships. Can you believe it? In fact, I got a little upset with our people. I said, "What quality of ship?" "Excellent, sir. Top of the line." I said, "Why did we just capture the ship? We could have used it. Why did we sink them?" They said, "It's more fun to sink them." I said, they like sinking them better. They say it's safer to sink them. I guess it's probably true. But think of it. We knocked out 46, and actually took 3.5 days. Their terrorist leaders are gone. We're counting down the minutes until they will be gone. Think of it. We had leaders, and they're gone. Then we had new leaders, and they're gone. And now nobody has any idea who the people are that are going to be the head of the country, and will not relent until the enemy is totally and decisively defeated. And remember, Iran did so many bad things.
Iran did so many bad things.
Who is the whizziest of them all?
It's the Whiz Quiz on 7.
Let's focus on some good things, shall we? Giving away cash. The Whiz Quiz is played by contestants aged 10 to 13. It's important to let parents, supporters, people in the car with our contestants, please don't whisper the answers to the kids. We can hear you. We can hear you. When the kids have a pause and they're not sure, and suddenly they know the answer, we can hear you. And we will again have to put our foot down and disqualify contestants who get answers from support behind the scenes. So please stop that. Stop it. The kids must be aged 10 to 13. If you're not aged 10 to 13, you may not enter. And don't enter via proxy. Be 10 to 13 to play. And for goodness sake, don't teach your kids how to cheat. Today's contestant is 13-year-old Lisedi, who joins us now on the line. Lisedi, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Remind us, what do you want to be again when you grow up?
I want to be a gynecologist.
You want to be a gynecologist, and tell me why you have that noble goal, Lisedi.
You
want to help people, I imagine. Wouldn't that be part of it?
Yes, it would be.
It would be indeed. Oh, we want to help you, Lisedi, and give you some cash. So, do you want to help us help you?
Yes.
Okay, KG, start the clock. True or false? Australia is both a country and a continent.
True.
Correct. What is 27 plus 10?
40.
37. Complete the saying, don't bite off more than you can what?
Bias.
True. Which planet is known as the red planet?
Let's see.
Mars. True or false? Antarctica is a cold desert.
True.
Correct. How many sides does a hexagon have?
6.
Correct. Does the expression GPS means global positioning what?
Yes.
System. Where is the Great Pyramid of Giza located? Is it in Egypt or is it in Zimbabwe?
Egypt.
Correct. In which sport would you perform routines with ribbons, balls, and hoops? Rhythmic gymnastics. Rhythmic gymnastics is the answer we were looking for there. Lisedi, I'm afraid, not a very good round for you. You got 400 Rand. Still a tidy sum. But nonetheless, if you heard all of that and you think, yeah, I can do a little better. You're aged 10 to 13, and without the help of your parents or your supporters, send us a WhatsApp voice note on 072 702 1702, and we could be calling you.
The Brainy Kids of the Whiz Quiz.
On 702. You're with Bongani Bingwa.
702 weekday mornings, 6 to 9 a.m.
Breakthrough ideas can look wrong at first. They challenge long-held assumptions and step away from consensus. And they can test popular thinking. They can test conviction. But over time, they reshape the world and do deliver better outcomes. That's the power of black sheep thinking. For over 20 years, Camisa Asset Management has invested differently, looking up and far ahead, thinking unconventionally and moving away from the herd. And that approach has delivered better outcomes for investors. So each week on 702 Breakfast in Black Sheep Thinking, powered by Camisa Asset Management, we're going to share the stories of people who chose a different path. And this week's story comes from the world of sport. Dick Fosbury is a name you ought to know. Have you ever watched high jump? Maybe it's the Olympics, maybe it's some athletics meet. And how do high jumpers typically jump? They arch their back, do they not, as they try to get over the bar. Did you know that until Dick Fosbury came around, nobody jumped that way? The goal of the high jump is to get your body over the bar. It doesn't matter how you do it. And Dick Fosbury, for years, was a so-so athlete until he decided to change the game.
When I developed this technique, it was not that I was trying to win, but I was trying to not lose. I was the worst high jumper on our team and in our league, and I was very frustrated. My coach allowed me to go back to using the old scissor style, which I had first started with. And, I had that intensity and focus of my mind to succeed, and my body simply followed and adapted to the bar. And my body changed its position, going from sitting up over the bar to laying flat on my back. By the end of the day, I improved by half a foot in one day. And I knew then that I may have something. In 1968 in Mexico, at the end of the competition, we were all exhausted. And to march out there to the podium was just an incredible experience.
Isn't that absolutely amazing? So for decades, as I said, high jumpers, they would face the bar head on. They used what they called the scissors or straddle technique, where they would basically move their legs to be able to jump over the bar. And the results were okay-ish. And then this guy came along and he arched his body over the bar. He was mocked initially. The judges questioned it. It looked wrong. But guess what happened? At the 1968 Mexico City Olympics, he won gold. He set a world record, and within a decade, every elite high jumper was arching their back. The sport had been permanently rewritten. What's the lesson? When the rules forbid it, orthodoxy can. And just because something has always been done one way doesn't always mean that's the best way. Sometimes progress begins with the courage and conviction to see things differently. That's Black Sheep Thinking. Listen again next week for another story of unconventional thinking. It's powered by Camisa Asset Management on 702. In investment markets, herding happens. It leads to crowded optimism or pessimism. At Camisa, they invest differently.
Current events, developing stories,
Tough questions.
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
Right, we did promise you a conversation with the sponsor of our first year law students who is unable to join us at this hour. So we had hoped to speak to Fezwe Khenga, who's the founder and director of Khenga Attorneys. They are the ones who, of course, a few weeks ago on 702 spoke about an initiative aimed at helping students who need it most. At the last minute, she's not available, but we'll give you some of the details of the recipients of those bursaries in the feedback with the producers. In the meantime, yesterday, you may remember a conversation with TK Puwe, who is, of course, the associate professor from the Wits School of Governance. And we were talking about the change in the global rules-based system. I want you to listen now to a speech that was given by the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who spoke at the Munich Security Conference, acknowledging the strains of the system and says there are still chances and opportunities to change it and make it more robust.
The U.S. has upended the rules-based order. Global trade rules are being undermined. But the U.S. is 13% of world imports, 11% of world trade. What is happening to the other 89%? Can other countries please have agency? Can we please try to act? Do we have to spend all the time lamenting? I know it's the biggest economy and China is the second largest, but sometimes when I hear people speak, that's not the way I approach this. Okay, so the US has done all these things. Can the middle powers come together and say we find the system valuable, as President Stubb is saying, and we are going to support it? And therefore we will support the rules-based system. And since the world trade is still largely, goods trade is still largely on those terms, could we get together and say what works within the system that we can keep? And what is it that doesn't work? Because a lot is also broken that we need to fix. The system is resilient, but it's not robust. So we need to make it robust by doing the necessary reforms. And that is what we're working on at the WTO.
That is the Director General of the WTO, the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, speaking there.
702.
Coming up, the big interview.
What is all of this? The Iranian war, the US-Israeli-Iran conflict, as tensions, of course, continue to threaten oil supplies, particularly through the Straits of Hormuz. What will it mean for South African motorists and road users? What will it mean for this economy in general? Could we have a fuel shortage? That discussion coming up after this Eyewitness News, brought to you by Khalix. Khalix, for the businessman who knows what he wants.
This is EWN.
More details about the SANDF crime-fighting deployments trickle in, and Trump avoids a question about plans to assassinate Iran's new supreme leader. Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. President Cyril Ramaphosa has confirmed that 550 soldiers have been deployed to Gauteng to aid police in the fight against crime. The operation has been dubbed Prosper, with the aim of tackling rampant illegal mining in the province. Soldiers have also been deployed to Western Cape, the Eastern Cape and the Free State to fight crime in those provinces. Jabuli Lembata has more.
President Cyril Ramaphosa sent a letter to National Assembly Speaker Togo Didiza. Ramaphosa says more than
than 80 million rand will be spent for the deployment in Gauteng. But the SANDF members are only positioned strategically in provinces including Gauteng, Western Cape, Northwest and Free State, where the incidents are more rife. The employment is for the period of 30 January 2026 until 30 April this year. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News.
Acting Deputy National Police Commissioner for Crime Detection, Hilda Sentumule, is expected to testify before Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption. Sentumule's appearance today comes after several delays since last year when she was initially scheduled to testify. National Coloured Congress leader and MP Fadil Adams, meanwhile, will also resume his evidence from last week to continue facing questions from MPs about allegations that he recklessly mishandled classified information. Babalondenza reports.
Hilda Sentumule, who is also the Divisional Commissioner for Detective and Forensic Services, will engage with evidence leaders and MPs today to finally give her evidence. Sentumule's testimony will focus on her knowledge of Minister on Special Leave Senzo Mchunu's directive to disband the Political Killings Task Team. Sentumule was also accused by suspended Deputy National Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya of benefiting from alleged crime kingpin Vusimuzi Matlala. Evidence leader Norman Arnser says her evidence will come after Fadil Adams.
We propose to call Honourable Adams first. You will recall that the committee members still have to ask questions of him. He has been led. And then to call Lieutenant General Sentumule.
The committee will hear evidence from National Commissioner Fanima Semola and KZN top cop Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi next week Tuesday and Wednesday respectively. Babalondenza, Eyewitness News.
In Pretoria, evidence leaders at the Madlanga Commission say controversial businessman Suleiman Karim may be referred for prosecution related to money laundering. Karim took the witness stand yesterday where he testified about his relationship with alleged tender fraudsters Vusmuzi Matlala and Hangwani Maumela. Karim says in 2024, he invested 10 million rand into Matlala's Medicare 24 company to assist with a tender that Matlala obtained from the SAPS. Tabiso Koba reports.
Medicare's 24 SAPS tender was terminated due to credible allegations of fraud and corruption. However, before its termination, Medicare 24 had paid 2.5 million rand to Suleiman Karim. Karim then paid 750,000 rand of that money to a company registered to the sister of Hangwani Maumela. Evidence leader Matthew Chaskelson suggested Karim was assisting Maumela in circumventing a preservation order laid on him by SARS.
If the contract was in fact procured by fraud and corruption, then the proceeds of that SAPS Medicare 24 contract are proceeds of crime. And that raises an issue under Section 5 of POCA, the Prevention of Organised Crime Act. What Section 5 says is that a person commits a criminal offence, a money laundering offence, if they ought reasonably to have known that certain amounts were proceeds of crime.
Karim says he never intended to commit any fraud or money laundering and that he was just doing his work as a businessman. He continues with his testimony today. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
And US President Donald Trump has sidestepped a question about plans to kill Iran's new supreme leader. Mojtaba Khamenei was selected yesterday after the US and Israel unleashed a war that killed his father, Ayatollah al-Khamenei, last week. Israel has said it will target anyone who becomes Iran's supreme leader. Trump was questioned if he intended to do the same.
Well, I don't want to say that, but I was disappointed because we think it's going to lead to just more of the same problem for the country. So I was disappointed to see their choice.
Gold is trading at $5,136.91 an ounce. The rand, 16.51 to the dollar, 22.13 to the pound, 19.14 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $93.77 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N3 North. This is between the Earlands interchange and the Van Buren Road exit. While traveling on the N1 North, we've got delays between the Diepkloof interchange and Albertina Sisulu Road.
And in your Sport Champions League round of 16 continues tonight. Barcelona are battling Newcastle. Liverpool boss Arne Slot has his 100th game in charge against Galatasaray. Mamelodi Sundowns will host German side Leipzig at a friendly, but tonight first they must get past Orbit College so they can go top of the table. And 2 Proteas players named in the T20 Cricket World Cup team of the tournament.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. Johannesburg is at a low of 10 degrees, peaking at 24. Pretoria 12 and 27. Vereniging 10 and a high of 25. The top story in EWN this hour. President Cyril Ramaphosa has confirmed that 550 soldiers have been deployed to Gauteng to aid police in the fight against crime.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Do you find getting dressed for work a challenge? What to wear? Are your suits becoming threadbare? Well, Halix has the solution. The latest style, color, and cut in business suits, jackets, shirts, and footwear, all curated to solve your wardrobe challenges, plus expert tailoring and the very best value for money. Next time you need a suit, make your choice effortless. Choose Halix for the businessman who knows what he wants.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Well, President Ramaphosa confirming that troops have now been deployed in various parts of Gauteng to fight criminality, specifically, of course, illegal mining. The operation being called Operation Prosper, right? It's been dubbed Prosper. I'm curious about how they come up with these names. Isn't the operation, the so-called operation, it's really a war. Vladimir Putin called his incursion into Ukraine, his invasion of Ukraine, a special operation, not a war, you see. The Americans are calling this Operation Epic Fury, what they're doing in the Middle East right now. Soldiers being deployed to various parts of Gauteng. Prosper. Does that give it, I don't know, what would you call it, Amo? Operation, not quite Dudula, but Operation Dubula. Operation Dujuriwa.
No, Bongani.
You're bringing soldiers. What would you call it? I don't know if Prosper quite hits it on the nail.
It says we're going to win, right?
Yeah, but these are soldiers.
Operation Conquer? No?
Yeah, Operation Destroy something. I like the sound of Operation Dujuriwa.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
We're keeping an eye, of course, on the developments unfolding in the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. And I think one of the issues that has certainly come up is possible money laundering and the exchange of money as far as tenders that are won are concerned. This is all to do, of course, with that police services tender. I want you to listen to just this moment where yesterday, of course, we had a witness who had initially tried to speak in camera, Suleiman Karim, yesterday giving details of his company's finances. His company is called Tamis, and it received 2.5 million rand from Medicare 24. But from that, a 10 million rand loan to Vusumuzi Cat Matlala, where only 1.75 million rand was recovered. Gets a little complicated and convoluted, but it just really, for me, opens the lid to what happens behind the scenes, that people don't just get these lucrative tenders and it's payment for the work done and for what you said you would deliver. There are all sorts of influencers and role players behind the scenes giving instructions about who is to be paid what and when, and those that are the beneficiaries cannot say no. And more than anything, it's quite clear this is classic money laundering. Have a listen.
I'm asking the nature of that transaction. It's important for me to understand the nature of that transaction. Either you were paid the company was paid 2.5 million and then it loaned 750.
Commissioner,
to
I was
Mr.
explaining.
No, let me finish, because it's important that you clarify to me. So let me ask my question, and then you can clarify my difficulty. You get Tamiz gets 2.5 million paid to it. It's either that's a repayment to the company, all of it belongs to this company. And then Mr. Matlala says, you know what, I need to give Mr. Maumela 750. Won't you please help me out, right? And then you help him out. So it's now a loan that Tamiz is making to Mr. Matlala. That's one scenario. The other scenario is you knew and understood as you got the 2.5 million that only 1.75 belongs to Tamiz. The balance is Mr. Matlala asking you to be the conduit to get this money to Mr. Maumela. It's one of the two. So I'm asking you to say
the first one.
Which one of the two is it?
It's the first one.
Okay, so you advanced a loan to Mr. Matlala after.
And he was going to, on the next payment,
Yes.
he then said, I'll do good and sort you out. I'll top it up for you. That's exactly what he said.
Okay.
You know what we mere mortals do when we need loans? We go to the bank. Ever heard of one of those? BANK. I think there was a Commodore song that said that. Going to the bank, going to the BANK. Maybe these guys ought to just try that.
702. More than a radio station.
Let's walk the talk.
A couple of weeks ago, we told you, of course, about the story of a 14-year-old boy from Mpumalanga, critically ill, and he needs now a liver transplant. And during that procedure, he might lose a lot of blood. No problem, but his parents say absolutely not, because he, or they rather, are Jehovah's Witnesses, and that is against their faith. The health minister has now stepped in. Dr. Aaron Mutwaledi says the hospital may need to turn to the courts to proceed with this because, of course, the right to life supersedes all else, including one's belief system. And then a moment of silence kicked off into a major incident. 5 members of Iran's women's national football team have been granted humanitarian visas in Australia after fears for their safety back home in Iran. The controversy erupted after the players declined to sing the national anthem of Iran ahead of a match against South Korea's women's national football team during the AFC Women's Asia Cup. And so they're not able to go back home for fear of their safety. And then, how well do you know the people you interact with? The people who, I don't know, are the tellers at your local retailer, your gym instructor, for example, the people living next door. Listen to this. It sounds like something out of a movie. He was a gym instructor, Stanislav Staminov. But it turns out he's been wanted by Interpol for an alleged role in a heroin trafficking ring. That matter is before the Wynberg Magistrates Court today. They arrested the police, a 41-year-old in Cape Town last month, after discovering that this man had been living quietly as a gym instructor, despite being sentenced to 16 years in prison in Romania in 2009. So he was a criminal. He escaped his home country, came to Cape Town, rebuilt a new life as a gym instructor, and nobody was any the wiser that he was wanted back home for serious crimes. The Department of Education in Gauteng is reminding the class of 2025, the matrics, to collect their national senior certificates from their schools. It obviously is an important document you'll need to apply for job opportunities or further study. And I wonder if all those certificates sitting in their schools is indicative of how many of these matriculants are not going to proceed to much more after that. Today, Timbaland, the hit-making genius, turns all of 54. He was born Timothy Zachary Mosley in 1972, and he's been behind some of pop and R&B's biggest tracks, producing songs for the likes of Aaliyah, Justin Timberlake, Missy Elliott, and of course he's had chart success himself, and I think he's even worked with bands like One Republic or One Direction, is it? One Direction or One Republic? One Republic, says KG.
702. Up next,
The Big Interview.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN traffic brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. And you could save on your car insurance if you don't ask them for 500 Rand. There's a crash in Emerentia, Amo.
That's correct, Bongani. Right along Main Road near Judith Road. It's causing heavy traffic volumes just as you come out of Republic Road. So please be on the lookout there and approach with care. And if you are traveling not far from the scene, we've got more delays in the Western area. This is along the intersection of Perth and Harmony Street. Please be on the lookout there and expect heavy traffic volumes. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
With Outsurance, saving on your car insurance feels like scoring the last cinnamon donut at the bakery. 45-year-old Nivan saves an unbelievable 461 Rand a month on his 2025 Volkswagen T-Cross. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, you can ask them for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's and information online.
702.
The Big Interview.
With Bongani Bingwa.
A very good morning to you if you're listening to us on 702 Breakfast. Welcome to the program. We have a question to ask this morning. How is the war in the Middle East going to affect you? As the price of oil climbs steadily in the wake of the crisis, how much more are we likely to pay at the fuel pumps? More worryingly, the Straits of Hormuz now choked. Do we have enough reserves in South Africa? What happens if we run out? As you know, nearly a fifth of the world's oil supply passes through that narrow passage, and any interruption could send prices soaring. And what happens if we get a shortage? It's happened before. Another crisis in the same region led to shortages around the world. Might we then see a repeat of what happened in 1973? We're joined in the studio, and I'm pleased to tell you he's come all the way, the CEO of the Automobile Association, who joins us now in the studio. And it's a real pleasure to have Bobby Ramagwede in the studio with us. A very good morning to you and welcome to 702 Breakfast.
Morning, and morning to your listeners as well.
We're also joined by Tsidiso Maqubela, who is from the Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources, the Deputy Director General, on the line. And both of you are going to take us through what we are faced with in South Africa. Tsidiso Maqubela, thank you and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Bongani. Good morning, Bobby, and 702 listeners.
Bobby, thank you so much. Bobby, I'll start with you. We've been keeping an eye on developments in terms of the war, but many South Africans may feel this is a conflict that has nothing to do with them. It's very, very far away. One of the things that geography has blessed us is the fact that we really have no part to play in all of this. It's not quite that simple, is it?
No, definitely not, particularly when it comes to a resource that we don't produce locally and we have to source from abroad.
Tell me about the Straits of Hormuz and why that matters so much to the rest of the world.
As you intimated, that's a passage, a very narrow passage, in which a fair chunk of oil that moves globally passes through. So naturally, what you'd have is, if that is interrupted in any way, it would make it difficult for fuel to be transported. And when I say fuel, I mean crude oil to be transported to its various refining locations.
In South Africa, much of our fuel is imported. Refineries aren't quite what they used to be in South Africa. And so you're talking about crude oil passing through the Straits of Hormuz. What does it mean for us, particularly if we're not even refining that much of our own oil these days?
Okay, so you sort of intimated it earlier on. It would imply an inability to refine at a rate that matches our consumption rate. But key here is to ask ourselves the question, how long is this going to persist for? In addition to that, how quickly are we burning through our reserves?
So what does that mean? I mean, Donald Trump looks at this as a weeks-long campaign. He said 4 to 5 weeks. He even said that, in fact, they're far advanced in terms of their plans. They're ahead of their planning. He seems to think it's going to be over fairly quickly. The Iranians, for their part, we've seen the leader they've elected. It doesn't seem they're going to give an inch on this, and this may drag on. War is not one of those things that you can set a timetable to, can you?
Unfortunately not. So the reality here, and I like to liken it to driving a car with a limited amount of fuel. The faster you drive, the faster you burn fuel. But if you plan correctly, not that we plan for war, but if you plan correctly, you can still arrive at your destination by adjusting how quickly you're driving later on. How this translates to this situation is, should we find some sort of reprieve or relief in terms of the conflict sooner rather than later, then you should not expect an increase, or rather a shock, in the fuel price going forward. Should it protract? Yes, there are grounds for concern, but that's further down the line. Further down the line, Sidiso Maqhubela, let me bring you into the conversation. Bobby has already mentioned the issue of our reserves, and I think all of this is around exactly what that picture looks like. How are we? Where are we sitting?
No, thank you very much, Bongani. We're sitting pretty well at the moment in terms of crude oil reserves, because companies that operate refineries in South Africa had already, had vessels sailing towards South Africa. So we are not too concerned about supply of crude oil at the moment. But I think the one thing that is beginning to concern us is the price.
When they say hindsight is 20/20 vision, Sidi. So you may remember, of course, in 2015, I think it was, we let go of 10 million barrels of our crude oil stocks at the princely sum of $29 a barrel. How much will we rue that day?
Well, the good news there, Bongani, is that that crude oil never left the tanks, and we were instructed by the minister that all of that crude oil, the title must revert to the state, and I'm glad to indicate that it did. We paid those traders what they had given us for the oil, and effectively we now own that crude oil in Southern.
And how much has limited local refining capacity increased our vulnerability to these shocks in the global supply chain?
Well, I guess it has. There's no doubt about that. But the good thing about, the oil companies operating in the country is that we have now diversified the supply of crude oil. We're looking at Nigeria being our biggest supplier, and that cushions us. Brazil and the U.S. now have entered the market in terms of supply, so we are pretty much okay in as far as crude oil supply, but we still are exposed to Saudi Arabia somewhat, and that supply probably is going to be disrupted for a while. But I must indicate that in as far as crude, we think we are good until May at least, and we hope by then this conflict will be over.
So when you say May, if you were to translate that into days, what does that look like?
Look, we don't necessarily on crude oil want to talk days, but we would like to indicate that we don't even think we'll dip into our strategic stocks based on information that we've received from the refiners. We would only then be able to, if there is a need in May, then we will have that conversation then. But for now, I think on crude, we're covered. I think that the issue is the products. The products do come from the Middle East. This is now refined fuel. We have exposure a little bit to Kuwait, exposure to Saudi Arabia, But I think the biggest advantage that we have is that our refined products, they come from Oman, and Oman sits on the other side of the strait, which I think was a good decision from the importers.
We talked about, Bobby mentioned planning. I mean, this is the kind of thing you absolutely just cannot plan for. If you look at all the forecasts that were made, for example, in the budget speech by the finance minister, none of this was factored in. We're hearing now from the Reserve Bank that this might affect any potential rate cuts that might have been envisaged. How do you plan for a situation like this?
Well, I guess there was always a view that the straits, something at some point would happen. But I think we have an advantage in that in 2012, a decision was taken to try and, we were forced effectively to stop importing crude oil from Iran. And that basically did, help us in a way, because now we don't have exposure, zero exposure to Iran. So that, with, in fact, the planning then was that let's diversify. Fortunately, the refineries that we have, they take a lot of crude from West Africa, which is good for inter-African trade. And now I think they're beginning to look west towards the Brazils and the US. At price, I think, is something, Bongani, that I think should concern all of us.
Right, I'll talk to you about price in just a moment, but let me bring back the CEO of the Automobile Association back into the conversation. Bobby Ramagwede, do the assurances you are hearing there from Tsidiso Maqubela, do they satisfy you? I mean, many people listening to us will be thinking about, all right, he says we've got enough in terms of our reserves. We should be okay, right?
Yes, we should be. In fact, the diversification of source is what gives us most of the comfort. His comment on price is real. The concern there is how quickly it increases, but more importantly, the lag effect. And when I say the lag effect, it's akin to adding milk to a cup of coffee. How quickly the color changes is a function of the lag in this particular instance. So we're of the view and the hope that price changes will not be so quick that the coffee changes color very quickly.
Might we see some adjustments, because much of what we pay for fuel is also levies and taxes? Might we see some relief in terms of adjustments in that regard?
A clever central planner would look at the situation and think, okay, so I've got price shocks in the core product, and I'm probably going to experience some shocks in freight, insurance, cargo dues. These are the other components that make up the fuel price. The lever I have available to me, the stroke of a pen, is to adjust a levy to give relief and some form of reprieve to the consumer. So should this persist, I would almost encourage the state to consider their levies as a tool to give back some form of reprieve and allow for movement and consumption of fuel quite easily.
Tsidiso, you giveth and you taketh away. Might you give us some relief?
Well, the issue that is being raised by Bobby on the levies sits outside our control as the department, and this
yes,
conflict.
That's a Treasury decision, is it not?
It's a Treasury decision, but again, it would be a parliamentary decision, because the budget has just been passed. And it took into account the existing levies. So if there's a change there, that revenue that had been, penciled in, effectively has to be covered somewhere.
So the computer says no.
Well, I guess, Bongani, the issue is that those discussions will obviously take place, but the main thing is that the Parliament has just passed the budget. So what But we do
As
go
things
back.
stand, as things stand, the computer says no, I think is what I'm getting from you. Bobby, I'll let you have the last word on this. Should motorists, should road users, should citizens be worried?
Be concerned at the moment, but let's not panic just yet. Let's see how this plays out. There's a possibility that you'll have a shock in price, but it's not going to be a prolonged shock. In it being not a prolonged shock, you shouldn't experience a dramatic increase in prices. What I'm currently seeing in a lot of commentary is price increases to the tune of anything between 2 and 4 rand a litre. A lot needs to happen for us to get to that point. So let's not anchor really high price increases.
Yeah. Without being alarmist myself, how long was our initial lockdown in 2020? 15 days? We thought, it'll all be over. Let's hope this time it stays true. Sidiso Maqubela from the Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources, the Deputy Director General there, and Bobby Ramachwede, the Chief Executive Officer of the Automobile Association.
EWN Business.
All right, let's talk other business news now. Muteo Kharipe, let's talk about confidence, right? The FNBB are building confidence, shedding a point in the first quarter of 2026.
Yeah, construction activity, Bongani, hit a snag in the first quarter of this year. The business sentiment in the building sector dropped lower to 42 index points in the first quarter of this year. The current rating indicates that close to 60% of respondents across the building sector value chain are dissatisfied with prevailing business conditions. The FNBBR Building Confidence Index results show the extent of the strain on residential builders as well. Activity and profitability softened during the period, and order books also remained relatively weak.
We've been talking about the price of oil. Yesterday, it breached the $100 mark. There were some predictions that it might even get to $150 by the end of the week. Things calming down a little, I think.
Yeah, traders are really snatching on to better sentiment. So they looked out for anything that President Donald Trump would say around the matter. And of course, he's saying that he's going to make sure the Strait of Hormuz is open and anyone who tries to block it will be hit 20 times harder. They latched onto that, and the price of oil dropped to $92 a barrel. So there's a lot of sentiment around the oil price at the current moment, and that's why you're seeing a major price drop of 10%.
So they're hoping the oil will flow.
Yeah, it's a hope. It's a hope, really, because if Iran responds, then we go back to higher prices, right? Brent crude was down 4.3% to $94 per barrel, while the U.S. crude oil fell 3.8% to about $91 per barrel. This after the price of oil went up to more than $100 a barrel yesterday. Looking at current currency prices, the rand at 16 Rand 34 against the US dollar, 18 Rand 98 against the euro, and at 21 Rand 94 cents against the British pound. Price of gold at $5,171 an ounce, or platinum is up 0.5% at $2,191. Brent crude at $92.58 a barrel. More business after 8.
Let's go straight to the news desk. Sfiso Zulu, arrests in Limpopo.
That's right, Bongani. Police have now arrested two brothers of a former officer accused of insurance fraud in that province. 54-year-old Rachel Kutumela, her sister Anna Shokane, and her niece Flora Shokane are already in custody. They are accused of killing 9 people for insurance payouts. 2 more of Kutumela's brothers were arrested during a police operation in the province this morning. The National Consumer Commission has recalled 2 Nutricia baby formulas. It says the products may contain a harmful toxin. The Commission spokesperson Petron Taba says the manufacturer of the toxin was found in raw materials that are used to make the products. Parents have been urged to stop using the formulas immediately.
We understand that exposure can cause symptoms of nausea, vomiting, and abdominal cramps. They say high levels of exposure, but we say exposure because we're talking here about infants.
Ndaba also advises parents to return the affected batch to the retailer for a full refund.
Take it back to the point of purchase. Yes, we have to look for the expiry date, which is 11 September 2026, as well as the 9th of December 2026.
Although an election date for the local government polls is yet to be proclaimed, Acting Police Minister Firoz Kachalia says security structures are already in place to ensure a peaceful election. This includes monitoring political gatherings and rallies in the run-up to elections. In response to a parliamentary question from the ANC regarding policing plans ahead of the elections, Kachalia says an operational intelligence committee has also been established to provide threat assessments, identify hotspots and instigators. Lindsay Dentlinger takes a look.
Local government elections have in the past given rise to such fierce contestation that has led to politically linked killings. But Minister Firoz Kachalia says an instruction has already been issued to coordinate all security cluster departments and agencies to ensure the next local government elections are held in a safe and secure environment. He says priority committees have been established at national level and in all provinces, co-chaired by the SAPS and the Independent Electoral Commission. These committees are expected to draft and execute safety and security operational plans for the elections. A reporting line has also been established that will include briefing cabinet. Kachalia says operational and contingency plans will also be developed to normalise and stabilise hotspot areas so that voting is not impacted. A special detective team will be deployed to work with the National Prosecuting Authority on election-related cases. Kachalia says voter registration weekends earmarked between June and August will be used as a dry run to test its operational plans. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And G7 nations say they are ready to take the necessary measures to support the global supply of energy after the US-Israel war with Iran sent oil prices surging. But a meeting of G7 finance ministers and the International Energy Agency ended without an agreement to release strategic crude reserves. The oil price reached nearly $120 a barrel yesterday over fears of a lengthy disruption to supplies before falling back sharply after US President Donald Trump raised hopes that the war would end soon. At a virtual meeting, the option of releasing oil from stockpiles was one of several discussions. A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures are at lows of 10 and 12 degrees, peaking at highs between 24 and 27.
There's been an accident on the N1 North. This is just as you approach the Diepkloof interchange. It happened after the Golden Highway. Please be on the lookout there. And another one reported heading towards Rand Park Ridge on the N1 North before Beasley Drive, also causing delays.
The top story this hour. Police have now arrested two brothers of a former officer accused of insurance fraud in Limpopo.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
You've been reporting about these things for a while now, David. You've been watching various administrations in Washington, D.C. How do you think this ends?
One thing we've learned from the Trump presidency is it's always a dangerous game to make any predictions. I think the public appetite will wear out and Trump himself will lose patience. He did claim the other day, I don't get bored. This is not boring, denying that he would get bored of this. But I suspect he will at some point. And the US military will withdraw without a major commitment of troops on the ground. But what they leave in their wake is very hard to predict.
David Smith, the Washington bureau chief for the Guardian newspaper.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
On the go and your stomach suddenly not keeping up? That burn, bloating, or reflux could be symptoms of an ulcer. Stress can make it feel even worse. Ulcernic offers triple action relief by coating your stomach lining with a protective layer, and it works for up to 6 hours. No prescription needed. Choose between suspension tablets or effervescent tablets. Keep an eye on the shelf for Ulcernic's new packaging. A fresh new look outside, but the same trusted relief on the inside. Visit the Ulcernic Facebook page for more.
Every bunny needs a holiday, and with FlySafair's affordable fares, there's no excuse not to go. That's right, if there's one hunt worth taking seriously this Easter, it's the hunt for a great fare. That's where our low fare finder comes in. Simply enter your destination and your travel month, and you'll quickly be able to pinpoint the cheapest days to fly. Head to flysafair.co.za and use our low fare finder to lock down those Easter flights now. FlySafair, for the love of flying.
At Chamberlain's, there's something for everyone.
From building supplies for the home renovators to garden essentials for the homemakers. From power tools for the DIY doers to painting supplies for the patio Picassos. We even have coffee for the slightly sleepy and snacks for the young ones. And for the ones who can never quite find what they're looking for, we have you covered too. With our promise to find and source whatever you need. Chamberlain's, famous for hardware since 1903.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Hi, Bongani and team. I'm very much interested to know from your guest that keeps on referring to the crude oil as to what percentage of the volume is, is supplied from local refinery, because what I know is that majority of the fuel that we use is imported refined already. So I don't understand the relevance of keep on going back to the crude, while we know that 2/3 of our probably supply, if not more, is fully imported as a refined product. Thank you. Ovutang from Sentin. Cheers.
I think it's all good and well and comforting that we have sufficient oil reserves at the moment because, as the guest has said, we've got vessels that were already on its way to South Africa. However, over the past week or so, wouldn't vessels have been delayed that would have been ordered or on its way? And what's the likelihood of us having fuel shortages in the coming weeks or months? So I think for now we should be okay. But the main question is, in the next month or next 6 months, what's the possibility of having fuel shortages then? That's the more important question.
Look, we've seen a shift in our energy landscape. I think since 2020, we've lost something over 65% of our domestic oil refining capacity, and that will no doubt have an impact on what unfolds next. One wants, of course, to be careful and not be alarmist, but if this thing does drag on, I think that's going to be a real factor. We used to be a major regional refining hub. We're no longer that. As you're hearing in those voice notes, much of the fuel that we are using comes refined already. So certainly fuel prices may well burn up our pockets in the coming months. We just have to wait and see.
702.
What's the question?
What's the question is brought to you by OUTsurance, a chance for you to win up to 3,000 Rand in cash. So first we'll give 1,000 Rand for the answer and then 2,000 Rand for the question that leads to that answer, if of course you can give us that question. SMS out to 45142 now and you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, you can ask OUTsurance for 500 Rand. Let's go to Mel, who has today's answer. Mel, you're in Centurion, I'm told. What's today's answer, please?
Today's answer is Timothy Zachary Moses.
Ooh, Timothy Zachary Moses. And tell me, Mel, have you received a quote from OUTsurance?
I'm a biscuit. I definitely did.
Timothy Zachary Mosley, right? Not Moses. Mosley. Yes, Mosley. That's what you said. You didn't say Moses at all. You said Mosley. 1,000 Rand is coming your way, Mel. In Centurion. All thanks to OUTsurance and 702. Well, there you have it. Timothy Zachary Mosley. If that's the answer, what's the question? Call us if you know on 011 883 0702.
EWN Sport.
Right, we're sticking with the theme of football. Cindy Paluta, let's talk Champions League round of 16.
Yeah, first leg tonight, and it's Barcelona away at Newcastle. Spurs have travelled to Atletico Madrid, Atlanta welcome Bayern, and Galatasaray will host Liverpool. Here's Liverpool boss Arne Slot.
I have a lot of respect for Galatasaray, for their manager. He's been so successful here as a player and now as a manager. Recently, they played Besiktas, but they were able even to beat Besiktas with 10 men. So that tells you a lot about how the team is fighting, if that is necessary. So they have quality players that can fight, and they have great fans behind them. So, yeah, we need to be so good tomorrow to bring a result back to Anfield.
Bafana coach Hugo Broos' prelim squad of 38 to play Panama at the end of the month includes USA-based defender Olwetu Makanya, midfielder Temba Zwane and striker Ikram Reyners. Mamelodi Sundowns have a chance to go top of the Betway Premiership table tonight. They're playing Orbit College in Rustenburg. Yesterday, German Bundesliga side Leipzig confirmed they'll play Sundowns in a friendly in Pretoria in May. Semi-finals in the Nedbank Cup will have TS Galaxy against Milford. Durban City got drawn to play Casrick Stars, while in the FA Cup, West Ham beating Brentford last night on penalties after their game finished 2-2. They'll host Leeds in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, but the showdown of the quarters will be Manchester City against Liverpool. Arsenal will take on Southampton, Chelsea drawn to face Port Vale. 2 Proteas players named in the official T20 Cricket World Cup team of the tournament, Aiden Markram and Lungi Ngidi. The team arrives home today. They've been stuck in the Middle East following flight delays.
I would have added Marco Jansen.
No,
not quite as great.
I don't think
one or
he's-
two games. But
Yeah, I don't
nothing-
think. Yeah, I must be honest and say I was quite surprised that Lungi Ngidi was there, but I wasn't really.
He was
paying,
one of the top wicket
I
takers.
know, but I wasn't paying. This shows you in this T20 Cricket World Cup, I wasn't paying any attention to the bowlers because I'm expecting bowlers' figures to be absolutely abysmal. So I was just paying attention to the batters.
Yeah, he was one of the top wicket takers.
Yeah. Tennis at Indian Wells. 3 of the men's top 10 seeds are out. Dominov, Fritz and Bublik, while Alcaraz and Djokovic needed 3 sets to advance. On the women's side, the 8 seed Andreeva and Marion Keys are out. Pagul is through with Swiatek, Svetlina and Mboko. And marathon legend Eliud Kipchoge has launched Eliud's Running World, where he plans to run 7 marathons across 7 continents. He's confirmed that the Cape Town Marathon on May the 24th will be the first of the 7 races. And interestingly enough, it's his first ever official marathon on African soil. Cindy Palooza, Eyewitness News Sport.
Why argue with your teenage know-it-all when you can feel more in control? Get the Haval H6 from only $6,299 per month with intelligent voice command technology that does not backchat. Perfect. Visit gwm.co.za for T's and C's and to book a test drive. GWM, go with more. Brought to you by GWM Finance, a division of Westbank, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Mzansi, it's raining millions with Powerball and Powerball Plus at 124 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Tuesday. Don't delay, make it rain lots of cash. This March by playing Powerball, 84 million rand and Powerball Plus for 40 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app or cell phone banking. Panda, Pusha, Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
We at Monument Dental are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
Outsurance business insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium when you switch? For dentistries, general medical practices, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance business insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
EWN Traffic.
12 minutes to 8. This EWN Traffic brought to you by Persia. Pretty tough crash on the N1 North. Amo?
Yes, Bongani, this one is right near the Deep Kloof interchange. It's causing heavy delays. There's also another one reported in Edenville along the N12 as well as the R24 merge. It's causing heavy traffic volumes coming out of Edenville Road. Please be on the lookout there while traveling on the M1 South, queuing traffic between the Baklu interchange and Marlborough Drive. Roadworks are causing delays on the N1 South towards Fourways, Winnie Mandela Drive. Please approach with care. And if you're traveling in the city of Tshwane, we've got delays along the N14 East towards the Braakfontein interchange. Please be on the lookout there and approach with care. We'll have more updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
When your business needs strength, reliability, and serious capability, look no further than the Persia Professional Pickup Range. Built tough for South African conditions, Persia pickups are engineered for fleets, professionals, and the agricultural heroes who keep this country moving. From rugged load capacity to fuel-efficient performance, these pickups work as hard as you do. So whether you're building, delivering, or farming, Persia has a model that's ready for the job. Visit your nearest Persia dealership today and power your business with the confidence of Persia Professional. Landtrek, it's pretty but tough.
702.
What's the question?
All right, for 2,000 Rand in cash, all thanks to Outsurance, please tell me what's the question. If the answer is Timothy, Zachary Mosley. Let's go to Matthew. Matthew, a very good morning to you. What's the question, please?
Good morning, Bongles. What is the real name of singer-songwriter producer commonly known as Timbaland?
Yeah, producer extraordinaire. He's behind so many hits. It's quite fantastic, actually, to find out the names and the minds and the brains and the pens behind all the songs we sing as anthems. Matthew, are you a member of Outsurance? Have you got yourself a quote?
I've been a member for the past 25 years.
Your biscuit. 2,000 Rand is coming your way. All thanks to
Thank you.
Outsurance and 702. So on birthday of Timbaland, producer extraordinaire. Just listen to some of his catalogue.
10 feet off the ground, and I'm hearing what you say, but I just can't make a sound. You tell me that you need me, then you go and cut me down. But wait, you tell me that you're sorry, didn't think I'd turn around. You say that it's too late to apologize. It's too late. I said it's too late to apologize. It's too
Nah, manje 702 ngase weekend lay. Nice and cool music. Kenemestri, Shaza Spear. Yes, yes. This is 702.
What would you do to get to me? What would you say to have your way? Would you give up or try again? If I hesitate to let you in, now would you be yourself or play a role? Tell all the boys I'll keep it low. If I say no, would you turn away or play me off? Or would you stay up? You don't succeed. Dust yourself off and try again. You can dust it off and try again, try again. Cause if the first you don't succeed, you can dust it off and try again. Dust yourself off and try again, try again. I'm into you, you into me, but I can't let it go so easily. Not till I see what this could be eternity or just a week. But yeah, our chemistry is off the chain, it's perfect now. I've been drinking. I get filthy when that liquor get it to me. I've been thinking. Why can't I keep my fingers off it, baby? I want you, nah, nah. Why can't I keep my fingers off it, baby? I want you, nah, nah. Cigars on ice. Feeling like an animal with these cameras all in my grill. Flashing lights. You got me pity, baby. I want you, nah, nah. Can't keep your eyes off my petty daddy. I want you, nah, nah. Drunk in love. I want you.
Yeah, you see, we do listen to newer music on the show. We even know what the artists are called. I called it One Derry. It's One Republic. Too late to apologize. Try Again from Aaliyah. Drunken Love from Beyonce. And of course, Timberlake with Timbaland. Bringing it back.
Wait till you hear how much money Outsurance saves 30-year-old Dineo on her car insurance.
I'm saving 1,094 rands.
That's an incredible monthly saving of 1,094 Rand on Dineo's 2025 Kia Sonet. SMS out to 45142. Here's 63-year-old Almero.
We do save 417 Rand. That's about 5,000 Rand a year.
That's an awesome saving on Almero's 2021 Ford Ranger. Get a quote now. SMS out to 45142. With Outsurance, after 3 claim-free years, you get an out bonus.
Can't wait for that. A little bit of cash for a girl to have a little bit of fun, eh?
Always getting something out. You also get 5 million rand third-party liability cover, covering damage to the other person's vehicle in an accident. How much could Outsurance save you? Get a quote now. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
LLB graduates can fast-track their legal career with the Law Society of South Africa's PVT School for Legal Practice. LPC accredited, this 4-month practice-ready course, which is taught by practicing lawyers, can reduce your PVT contract by 12 months for admission. Study by day, after hours, or via distance at campuses nationwide. The first 2026 intake runs from January to April. Applications close 31 October 2025. Apply now at lssalead.org.za. That's lssalead.org.za.
The Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra presents its summer season concerts, featuring celebrated conductors and soloists. Thursday evenings from 26th February to 19th March at the Linda Auditorium. These concerts are not to be missed. Tickets available at Quicket.
The team's on a roll today. Let me focus on payroll. Duty calls in the kitchen. That's why I have a business insurer that is agile and on the ball all the time on all things. I chose My Way Business Insurance, getting 24/7 emergency service and saving on my premiums, plus my business assist to handle my admin.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
702
702. What's gone viral?
with Kabazela.
Let's catch up with the world of viral content. Kabazela.
Good morning to you, Belle.
You know they're tough on us, but can they do our jobs?
That's a very good question, eh? But I suppose they would argue they don't have to because they
That's
do
what we're there
the
for.
overarching stuff. Exactly. So I wanted to link that to this video that's gone viral, and I saw it a couple of days ago, and it's just got its own path, and it's just gone on. So basically, the CEO of McDonald's in the US, they have released a burger there called the Big Arch. Now it's 2 quarter-pounder beef patties, 3 slices of melted white cheddar cheese, pickles, slivered onions, crispy, also with crispy onions, lettuce, and a tangy Big Arch sauce. And it's a very, very big burger. It looks very delicious. So this McDonald's CEO decides to do a taste test and eat it and post it online. And this is the video, and then we'll chat thereafter. Just take a listen, Bongles.
Chris K here with, you've heard about it, here it is, the Big Arch. This is something that we have tested already in Portugal, Germany, Canada. I love this product. It is so good. I'm going to do a tasting right now, but I'm going to eat this for my lunch, just so you know. So here we go. First, holy cow. God, that is a big burger. We've got a very unique kind of sesame poppy sort of bun on it. We've got 2 quarter-pound patties, a delicious Big Arch sauce, and of course some lettuce. So, there's so much going on with this. First of all, let's try to get this thing, I don't even know how to attack it. Got so much to it. Oh, there's also some crispy onions on here as well. You see those kind of coming out. All right, the moment of truth. That is so good. That's a big bite for a Big Arch.
Now that's the key here, is he said it's a big bite for a big arch. He nibbled on it. He took a little bite from this big burger and didn't really look like he enjoyed it. And also he called the burger, I just love this product. I love the product.
Well, also the fact that he's even struggling to handle it tells you he doesn't eat it. He certainly doesn't look like he eats it.
That was one of the threads that people said it doesn't even look like he eats McDonald's on a regular basis. So then all the other burger chains in the US jumped on board and started ripping him off and, taking massive bites out of their burgers. Locally, the Woolworths W Cafe, they've jumped on board. Rocamamas have jumped on board. Pedro's have jumped on board. So all these CEOs and executives in various burger joints have jumped in onto this challenge. But now I wanted to swing it a little bit about the CEOs, right? And CEOs, do a very important job and get paid millions and millions of rands or dollars. But do you think they could do your job? Do you think if your CEO came down to the floor and said, "Okay, Bongles, move over. I'm jumping in the hot seat here."
Kabazela, not because I want a raise or anything. I think my CEO can do anything. I certainly couldn't do his job, could I? All right, if your boss had to step into your shoes, would they be able to? Send us a WhatsApp voice note on 072-702-1702.
702
Feedback
with Siamtanda Matiso.
Siamtanda Matiso?
Good morning.
Imagine our bosses doing what you do.
Actually, our bosses have done what we've...
Your bosses.
Yes, my boss, actually. Not yours. But I think you would be a great CEO. Don't you think so?
No.
Or a manager?
You?
Okay.
Imagine that board tearing me apart. No, thank you.
Oh, wow, Bongs, I think you can. Anyways, many reacting to your interview after 7 Bongs with DMER, that's the Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources, and the Automobile Association CEO. Listen, they are happy that they are not concerned about the supply of crude oil, but there's huge concern about the fuel prices hiking at any point in time because it affects everything. Food, it just affects everything. Transport. So they are worried about that. And you did ask that information. What is that information or conspiracy theory that you had to correct about Iran? Listen, there are many repurposed videos that are not true. They're coming from AI, either video games, fabricated footages of explosions in major hubs, and also old speeches of the Iran leadership announcing there's no attack. So there's lots of that.
The world is bad enough without us falling for AI-generated fake content.
Yeah.
Stay listening closely to 702. It's going to be a bumpy ride for a little while yet, and we will certainly bring you accurate news and information like right now.
This is EWN.
Standard Bank says it is not guilty of fraud, and Iran's Revolutionary Guards say they will determine the end of the war in the Middle East. Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Standard Bank has denied claims of irregular and unauthorized deductions of clients' funds. In a post on X, a client alleges that her mother's pension money was transferred out to multiple accounts without her consent. This has sparked public outrage, with other social media users making similar claims of a fraud syndicate going after exorbitant amounts. Jabuli Lembata has the story.
In a written response, Standard Bank says the claims are inaccurate. The bank says the post relates to a matter that happened in 2011 and was investigated, resolved and closed in 2023. The statement further adds that the customer had also launched a complaint with the Financial Sector Conduct Authority, which supported the findings of the investigations by the bank. It says the transactions were legitimate and correctly processed, and the FSCA found no evidence of fraud, unauthorized activity, or bank errors in this specific case. The bank says it works closely with regulators to ensure customers are protected from financial harm. Jabuli Lembata, Eyewitness News.
The National Consumer Commission has recalled 2 Nutricia baby formulas. It says the 800-gram Optimal Nutribiotic 2 and Opti Junior Nutribiotic 3 may contain a harmful toxin. The Commission spokesperson, Peton Taba, says the manufacturer detected the toxin in the raw materials used to make the products. Parents have been urged to stop using the formulas immediately.
We understand that exposure can cause symptoms of nausea, vomiting, and abdominal cramps. They say high levels of exposure, but we say exposure because we're talking here about infants.
She also advises parents to return the affected batch to the retailer for a full refund.
Take it back to the point of purchase. Yes, we have to look for the expiry date, which is 11 September 2026, as well as the 9th of December 2026.
Gauteng residents are anticipating what the Finance MEC Lebogang Maile will say about the province's funds when he delivers his budget speech today. There is some uncertainty over whether it will be adopted by the legislature. The ANC is leading a minority government in the province, meaning it doesn't have the 50% plus one majority. It's expected that allocations for key portfolios such as health, education and infrastructure will feature prominently during the speech. Alfara Mushwana has more.
Last year, Gauteng Finance MEC Lebogang Maile presented a 172 billion rand annual budget, which was later adjusted with an additional 3 billion rand. Although the EFF sits in the opposition benches, it supported the passing of the budget. However, following a fallout with the ANC, EFF leader Julius Malema has vowed that his party will no longer assist the ANC in passing legislation or budget in the provincial legislature. Meanwhile, the DA spokesperson for finance Ruhan Robinson says he doubts that the upcoming budget speech will prioritize the service delivery needs of residents.
One of the most pressing issues remains the supply of water, and thousands of people have been left without water as a result of this.
Maile recently announced that so far, the provincial government has spent more than 83% of its budget for the current financial year, which ends at the end of this month. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
And Iran's Revolutionary Guards say they will determine the end of the war in the Middle East after US President Donald Trump said the conflict would end soon. The RGC says the future status of the region is now in the hands of armed forces and that American forces will not end the war. Trump and Israel started the war with a barrage of airstrikes targeting Iran almost 2 weeks ago. Their attacks have reportedly killed more than 1,000 people in Iran and injured thousands more. Iran's retaliatory strikes have killed 7 American soldiers and at least 10 people in Israel. Speaking at a media briefing in Florida, Trump predicted a quick end to the conflict.
On Iran, you called it an excursion. You said it would be over soon. Are you thinking this week it will be over?
No,
Are you talking
but soon.
about days?
I think soon.
Okay, and with respect
Very
to
soon.
Gold is trading at $5,171.14 an ounce. The rand is at 16.35 to the dollar, 21.96 to the pound, 19 rand exactly to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $92.70 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N3 North. This is between the Elands interchange and the Van Buren Road exit. There's also queuing traffic reported along Jan Smuts Avenue. This is just as you exit Oxford Road. An accident reported there. Please be on the lookout.
And in your sport, Mamelodi Sundowns will go top of the Betway Premiership table if they beat Orbit College tonight. Liverpool boss Arne Slot takes charge of the Reds for a 100th time. They're playing Galatasaray in the Champions League later. And the Proteas men finally return home from the T20 Cricket World Cup.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 24 and 27 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Standard Bank has denied claims of irregular and unauthorized deductions of clients' funds.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
7 minutes after 8 o'clock, it is a Tuesday. It's the 10th of March, the year of our Lord 2026. The top story in Eyewitness News, these claims of unauthorized deductions. How carefully, Muteo and Amo, do you scrutinize your bank statement every month? Can you explain every single deduction? And is it something you sort of do from time to time, making sure that everything is okay? Or do you sit with it every month when it comes out and you go through it and you check every transaction, every deduction, those 99 Rand amounts, they add up to something over time?
I do check my statements every now and again, not every time, but mostly it would be when I have been on a spending spree, especially at the end of the month. So then I would come back and sit down and say, okay, to check if my balance is indeed what they're saying it is.
Mattel?
It's month on month, and it's because, of course, I'm trying to make sure that everything has gone off that needs to go off.
before you spend.
But it's
on
scary
vinyls.
also to look at. It's scary to look at because sometimes you realize just how much money you're wasting. But also a good thing to do because you can pick up on those dubious debit orders.
Well, here's a question. How much do you assist the pensioners in your lives to go through their statements? And do you often have conversations about what not to sign up for?
My mother would not let me look at her statements or even her bank balance on her phone. It's just you don't go there. Amu, you don't touch that. No, I'm responsible. I raised you guys as a responsible parent.
Still
Don't
your
go
mother.
there, and I'm still your mother. Even if she's gone and bought the same pair of shoes in a different color, listen, she will
your
not
mother.
hear it. She will not.
You're still a child. I mean, it's a concerning one because all of this was prompted by a post on the social media platform X, a client alleging that her mother's pension money was transferred to multiple accounts without her consent. And I think sometimes, even if they don't allow us to check those bank statements, but we've got to educate, particularly the pensioners and the older folk in our lives, because they can easily fall for scamsters and traps and not know what they're signing up for.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
10 minutes after 8 o'clock, could your boss do your job? I said to Kabazela, my boss can do anything. My CEO can do anything. I'm not trying to get a raise or anything. It's a very sincere statement. What I certainly know is I couldn't do his job. let's be clear on that.
If you swap hats.
Whether he could do mine or not is
neither here or there.
I certainly, very clear, I couldn't do his job.
Yeah, no, that's a tough
Mateo?
one. I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be able to.
That's a career limiting
No,
comment.
I wouldn't be able to do this. We have
Is the
different
caveat.
We have different roles, you see.
That's what we are here for, right?
Exactly.
That's what they pay us for. Amo?
I'd like to see it happen, so I'm gonna say
Let them try.
I would love to see it.
Please don't say that at your next performance review. I'd like to see
You know
try.
how difficult my job is.
Like to see you try. It comes from this viral video where a McDonald's CEO is opening what really appears to be a burger for the first time. I mean, they don't even know how to deal with
one of the
box.
weirdest videos I've ever
Why
seen.
would you put that out there?
It's as if he's never seen the product that he's selling.
He even calls it a product. Who calls a burger a product?
Even the way he's holding it, you can tell he's never eaten a burger.
But I used to love, is it The Secret CEO? Is that what it was called? It's a BBC program.
Yeah, I remember the program.
Where they would take a CEO of a company and disguise them, and then they'd make them a general worker in their business. And that's how sort of they get tips on what is going on, and they would have a crew following this person around, and they'd come up with a story. And for some reason, the workers would always believe it. They would never recognize that this is their big boss, which is
I had a problem
how
with
likely?
that. I had a problem
How
with that.
likely?
No, but it's true. People.
It made for good TV.
Yeah, people usually don't know who the boss is.
Really?
Yeah, unless it's a company where you have tons of meetings and the CEOs there always giving a.
Or it's a small company.
Are you trying to suggest I've got proximity to the top?
Yeah, you've got proximity to power.
The team, Rachel as always. My boss can definitely do the job. One of the reasons why I actually respect him quite a bit. He can do the job. We are short-staffed currently, and he is in the trenches with us. Yeah, so definitely can do the job and can support us when we need, and always brings sound advice when you need it. Thanks.
Good morning, folks, and the 702 listeners. Look, mine plain and simple. Yes, my boss could do my job, and she has done my job. So yeah, she could definitely do it. You know what I mean? And I hope she's listening. Masungu and Protiatle.
Hi, Bongs. I definitely say no. He can't even do 0.1% of what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm working at the municipality here in Randfontein. I don't think my CEO can do 1% of what you do, because sometimes we do what we call bylaws and credit control. As an electrician, I do travel with them as we do enforce bylaws and everything. You can see this guy's clueless of electricity, clueless. Like, is that type of a person who can change a bulb inside the house or at leakage strips. He won't be able to lift it up. No, my CEO can't do anything.
I mean, Muteo, you've got a solid point in saying, obviously, we've all got different skill sets, and that's why a business that really does well can focus on different people being able to do different things. But how difficult is it to accept particularly hard criticism from somebody who can't do it?
I mean, if you're not doing your job, you should be accepting it, right? But if you know your boss can't completely do your job, I mean, you do take it a little bit with a pinch of salt. Not
Right.
that you are pompous or anything, but you would rather go to the director that you know actually can do what you do.
Have you ever had somebody senior in the business give you advice and you know they're completely wrong?
Yeah.
Maybe they go and they hear a TED talk somewhere and they think this is the best, this is the new thing to do.
Here's the
and
new
you look
strategy.
at them and you're just like, oh, you're watching too much TikTok, my guy.
I've had a boss called listeners consumers, and I knew. I was just like, nah.
Not the one.
But I didn't judge
You knew it
them.
wasn't going to work
I
out.
didn't judge them for that. It was probably
You knew it wasn't going to work out.
Brabi, that show they used to call it Undercover Boss.
Yes.
Sharp, Lefa Pretoria. Nice show as always.
EWN
I
Traffic.
called it Secret CEO. Undercover Boss, that's what it was
Want to
called.
start your own show?
The Secret CEO. The CWN Traffic brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. And you could save on your car insurance if you don't ask them for 500 Rand. Amo, who's sitting in traffic, wishing their boss was doing their job.
Wishing they were in the office.
Yes. Who's feeling overloaded?
Well, Bongani, we've got delays on the M1 South. This is between the the Baklu interchange and Corlet Drive. There's also queuing traffic on the Magwan North between the Kilani Bends and Grayston Drive. There's also queuing traffic within the inner city areas like in Ilovo, Rivonia Road, heavily backed up towards Corlet Drive. An accident reported there. There's also queuing traffic along Jan Smuts Avenue, an earlier accident causing these delays. And then if you're traveling on the M1 North, we still have got queuing traffic between Boyson's Road and Car Street. I'll have more updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. Like a businesswoman on the way to the airport after sleeping through her alarm. Bags in the back, boarding pass on the dashboard. She prays she'll make her flight.
Hope I make it.
The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's the potential closing of a big deal. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
On 702.
Let's walk the talk.
So, the heat in the kitchen. Can you stand it? We've been following MasterChef South Africa on ETV. It's on every Sunday at 6 p.m. And this week, it was the unfortunate turn of Durban home cook Suhail Raghunath's bold goat cheese souffle. Not quite what he intended and didn't quite make the cut. And Suhail is joining us here in the studio. Great knife skills, though. I mean, the precision with which he cuts. I'm one of those cooks that goes, choop, 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 choop. Firstly, I got to ask you, how did you learn how to handle the knife as well as you do, Suhail?
Oh, practice makes perfect.
Really?
It really
Anyone
does.
can do it?
Anybody can do it. You just need to take it slow.
Yeah?
Learn the proper technique.
Did you watch YouTube videos? Did you watch other chefs? I mean, like, just because it's so impressive.
It actually stemmed from a lot of...
I'm just going to need you to come closer to the mic.
It actually stemmed from a lot of movies that you see on chefs. And, you know, they're just doing this fancy chopping. I'm like, hey, you know what? I want to give that a shot.
You want to give that a... Is it your party trick?
It is. It totally is. Everybody is always, well, I mean, everybody did get wowed on it by the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely is a party.
But I mean, even amongst
I can
friends
look you,
and
I can look
family.
you dead in the eye and still do it.
Really?
I can. It's a fantastic skill to have. And, you know, just the ability to be able to break down your veg, your meat, whatever it may be, that quick, definitely saved me a lot of time in the kitchen.
I suspect you're never alone on Valentine's Day. Hey, it's quite the trick to impress people. He's not going to answer that.
Yeah.
Pleads the fifth. Yeah. All right, take us back to firstly, why did you enter MasterChef South Africa?
I've always had a passion for cooking. I always wanted to improve, put my own spin on things. And initially I had seen the advert on Facebook and I thought, this is probably fake. And I entered it anyway, not thinking anything of it. And boom, boy, did that grow up on me.
When they got you,
yeah.
When you got the call and you came in.
I came in, interviews, auditions. Oh, it was a long, tedious process.
What do they put you through to audition? Did you do a test cook?
We had to make a video first.
Yeah.
We had to do an online interview via Zoom. Then we had to go for an audition cook against. They had narrowed it down from, I think, about 800 to 700 people throughout South Africa.
It's that popular, hey?
It is super popular. And, you know, the 20 of us that are there, we are real fighters to be able to get that far. And, yeah. Hell,
what was your audition cook? It's so long ago.
It was a mystery basket.
It was a mystery
basket. It was a mystery basket.
I've been to the kitchen, the MasterChef kitchen, and one of the things that surprised me, because our version is very much based on the Australian version of the kitchen, and apparently ours is bigger. Did you know that?
I did not, really.
Ours is bigger. The set is bigger.
Yeah.
The pantry is bigger, and even, of course, where you guys prepare the food is a lot bigger. So that surprised me when I was on set. Earlier in the episode, of course, you attempted something quite bold with the onion challenge, an onion steak and deconstructed soup. What inspired that idea?
Honestly, it just came to my head in like 5 seconds. I knew I could make a good stock, which I actually did on my audition cook. That was probably what got me through. And yeah, surprisingly falling short on the seasoning, but I'll take the criticism.
And the souffle, what? Because you said on the show you'd never made one before.
The weird thing is it rose. I'm just a bit dumbfounded.
Did you kick yourself, or were you trying to? Because had you pulled it off, though, hey, would have been great.
You know what? I am super, super happy about what I had put down.
Yeah.
And, you know, all to their own, it's just not what the judges were looking for on that day.
But you look back on your journey and your experience with pride? You should.
It sucks that I came out too early.
Yeah.
I had so much more skill to put out there.
I don't know. Maybe they'll bring you back for an all-stars season, hey?
Redemption would be so good.
You just never know.
I am already losing sleep over thinking about coming back and just smashing it.
And what that was like. Listen, you're very brave. It's one thing to think you can do it in your own kitchen with your own ingredients, with no timer and no clock and no judges breathing down your neck. I admire you guys every week. I think you're absolutely fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And hopefully this experience leads to some kind of pursuance of a food dream, hey?
Oh, it already has.
Yes, tell us.
It already has. I've got contacted from many restaurants. I actually have settled on one. It's a little restaurant north of Durban called Gate of India. And yeah, I'm going to be there.
What are you going to do there?
Running the kitchen.
Oh, look at you.
Look at me.
So, Hale, congratulations on the journey so far. The most recent contestant from MasterChef South Africa.
702.
The Worldview.
Right, let's catch up with news from elsewhere in the world. Adam Gilchrist still out for the week. Good morning once again, Vicky Turner. Let's look at the new Formula One season that has just started, but new regulations under fire, and Max Verstappen is not happy.
You know, I think Max Verstappen feels that he is able now to speak out. He's a confident driver, of course, a champion. He compares the new F1 rules to Mario Kart, which I think is a little harsh. He says the racing is not really proper, in his words. Now, despite climbing from P20 to P6 in Australia, he says the format feels artificial and unenjoyable. Like I said, he's putting his head above the parapet here. F1 executives have already met with Verstappen, but more discussions are planned with other drivers now. And how do other drivers feel? Well, Lando Norris labels the racing very artificial, raising safety concerns over closing speeds. George Russell, who was the race winner and the new championship leader, actually suggests that his rivals are frustrated rather than justified. And Lewis Hamilton, who's like one of the older drivers now, has praised the new style, saying the racing felt great and fun to drive. The problems they have with this is they're half electric, half petrol, of course, so they've got to slow down at top speed to recharge their car batteries now. And their overtaking on the track actually relies on their battery power management and a boost button. And they do say, and you can understand then why people like Max Verstappen are saying it compares to Mario Kart, and the driving isn't as enjoyable. I don't know whether you actually watched the race, but it was a bit weird. It seemed like they were a tiny bit more hesitant than they have been, which I think is a shame, because F1 is all about watching the reactions and how quickly they can overtake and make decisions, split-second decisions, which aren't really possible, I don't think, in this new format.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of elite sport is to make fans look at it and just be in awe of the ability of those who participate. You're not supposed to feel like you could pull it off, and maybe Max Verstappen will have a point. I wonder what regular fans of Formula One might say. There are all kinds of weird competitions around the world, Vicky Turner. And on Women's Day of all days, tell me about couples taking part in a wife-carrying contest.
I love this. It's just so eccentric, isn't it? A wife carrying contest, which has been going on now for 17 years. It entered its 17th year this year. Basically, it is exactly as it says on the tin. You carry your wife. Actually, you are allowed to carry someone else's wife if you want, or your next door neighbour. There's one rule. They have to weigh 50 kilograms or more. And the way they carry them is absolutely extraordinary. They're on their back like a backpack, but they're upside down, so their head is facing downwards. Their legs are wrapped around the guy's, because it is usually men doing the carrying. The legs are wrapped around the guy's neck. Their hands around his waist, so the guy can run free-handed as such. His arms are free, and they go across a 380-meter long course, but it's not a straight run at all. They have to jump over hay bales. They have buckets of water thrown at them. And you may ask, what's this all in aid of? Well, it's all in aid of celebrating women, believe it or not, and a barrel of beer, which is the prize at the end of it. This year, it was won by a Finnish couple called Timu and Jata, and they claimed the title. Last year's winners were a bit more hesitant than they were last year, because the wife apparently was a bit afraid of falling on her head. She didn't last year, but this year the fear grabbed her. But yeah, this happens every single year, endangering your life, really. Not quite, injury for a barrel of beer. And before you ask me, would I ever take part? All I can say is I have been carrying my husband for years now.
I wonder if any research has been done about how well the marriages do after the race. Hey, Vicky.
I bet actually, if you win, you're probably so elated that it brings you closer together. If you drop your wife on the head, yeah, I think that's a different story.
Pity the husband who says no when the wife says let's enter.
And imagine them practicing in the park.
Do you think I've gained a little, huh? Vicky Turner with this morning's Worldview.
EWN Business.
All right, Stats SA Motero releasing growth numbers, and it's got nothing to do with wives and their waists.
No, nothing at all. Stats to say will release South Africa's fourth quarter and annual 2025 GDP data. The report is expected to show a 1.3% growth for 2025. This is despite a significant economic headwinds. 2025 was riddled with challenges, including global trade disruptions from the US's tariff policy, as well as domestic issues as well. In the third quarter of last year, high commodity prices drove growth for the mining sector. Mining and quarrying grew by 2.3%, and trade, catering, and accommodation increased by 1%. South Africa's economic growth outlook is expected to continue to have that positive run into the fourth quarter. GDP increased by 0.5% in the third quarter. Of course, South Africa needing between 3 and 5% to have any form of sustainable job growth in the country.
Look, I wonder how much these expectations are going to be revised in time, Mutero, because we're living in such a poly-crisis moment in the world that as we think about the war in Iran right now, I mean, how much are US's tariff policy issues front of mind? It's as if it's like, oh yeah, as you're talking, I'm going,
it's so distant, right? Because we have new issues.
We've been
new problems.
Right? Jeepers. All right, let's look at the markets. Oil plunging a little this morning. That's good news.
Yeah, it was the weirdest oil trading session I've ever seen, because, I mean, the one day it's $100, the next day down to $92 a barrel, and all moving because of sentiment. Our oil prices plunged as much as 10% in early trade this morning as investors assess comments from US President Donald Trump on the ongoing conflict in the Middle East and oil flows via the critical Strait of Hormuz.
Like him or hate him, he is the most powerful man in the world.
No, if he sneezes, definitely. We all catching
whatever
the flu,
he
right?
says. Prices like you've never seen before.
It moves the markets. Brent crude was down around 4.3% at $94 per barrel, while the U.S. crude oil fell 3.8% to $91 per barrel. Just a day before, the price of oil was up more than $100 a barrel. Looking at the markets, the JSE was a bit better on Monday after the Friday losses that we saw last week. The rand at this hour, 16 rand 32 against the US dollar, still in some weakness this morning. 18 rand 97 against the euro, and at 21 rand 93 cents against the British pound. Price of gold at $5,177 an ounce. It's up close to 1% now. Platinum also up this morning at $2,202 an ounce. Brent crude now at $92.45 a barrel. More updates this afternoon from Stephen Grootes.
Thank you, Mutero. Up next, we speak to the fantastic Gregory Makoma about Genesis. No, not the book in the Bible, but a bold dance operatic experience. What's that all about? Stay listening. Sfisa Zulu, what do you have?
Thanks, Bongani. Good morning. Emergency services have recovered all 4 bodies swept away by floods in Limpopo. 5 people were traveling in Sibayeng on Sunday when their car overturned at a bridge that was overflowing. Only one person managed to escape and call for help. Police spokesperson Malisela Letwaba.
During the operation, the submerged vehicle was located and 3 additional bodies were recovered. The deceased were identified as Suovi Dikhal, aged 33, Betty Mukukwan, aged 22, and Charlotte.
Police have now arrested 2 brothers of a former officer accused of insurance fraud in Limpopo. 54-year-old Rachel Kutumela, her sister Anna Shokane, and her niece Flora Shokane are already in custody. They're accused of killing 9 people for insurance payouts. Two more of Kutumela's brothers were arrested during a police operation just this morning. Police spokesperson Atlenda Mate.
More arrests are imminent. Kutumela was arrested in October 2024 while on duty at the Sinobarana police station. She has since been dismissed from the SAPS. She is in custody with 3 others, which include her sister, daughter, and elder brother. They are facing more than 30 charges, which include fraud, murder, defeating the ends of justice.
Although an election date for the local government polls is yet to be proclaimed, Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia says security structures are already in place to ensure a peaceful election. This includes monitoring political gatherings and rallies in the run-up to elections. In response to a parliamentary question from the ANC regarding policing plans ahead of elections, Kachalia says an operational intelligence committee has also been established to provide threat assessments, identify hotspots and instigators. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
Local government elections have in the past given rise to such fierce contestation that has led to politically linked killings. But Minister Feroz Kachalia says an instruction has already been issued to coordinate all security cluster departments and agencies to ensure the next local government elections are held in a safe and secure environment. He says priority committees have been established at national level and in all provinces, co-chaired by the SAPS and the Independent Electoral Commission. These committees are expected to draft and execute safety and security operational plans for the elections. A reporting line has also been established that will include briefing cabinet. Kachalia says operational and contingency plans will also be developed to normalise and stabilise hotspot areas so that voting is not impacted. A special detective team will be deployed to work with the National Prosecuting Authority on election-related cases. Kachalia says voter registration weekends earmarked between June and August will be used as a dry run to test its operational plans. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And a high school teacher in Georgia in the US was accidentally run over and killed outside his home when a toilet paper prank carried out by his students went terribly wrong. 40-year-old Jason Hughes came out of his home to surprise his students who were tossing the toilet paper over trees as part of a practical joke. But Hughes tripped and fell on the ground, which was slick from rain, and as the students tried to run away from the scene in two separate cars, he was inadvertently run over by the driver of one of the vehicles. The student who was driving the car has been charged with homicide, but the teacher's family say they want the charges dropped. A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng today. The temperatures will peak at highs between 24 and 27 degrees.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the M1 South between the Baku Interchange and College Drive. There's also queuing traffic in four ways along Winnie Mandela Drive between Leslie Avenue and the N1 exit due to an accident.
The top story this hour, emergency services have recovered all 4 bodies swept away by recent floods in Limpopo.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays
12 to 1.
I'll be waiting for a court decision in this matter. And if the courts decide that she should recuse herself, is this something that she would take on appeal potentially?
Well, once the court makes a decision that the judge should recuse themselves, that the judge has an obligation to do so. An appeal would actually not look good for her and also for the commission itself. And so once the court makes that decision, I think it would be the end of the matter.
Becky Zeli Benjamin from Judges Matters.
The Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
Every bunny needs a holiday. And with FlySafair's affordable fares, there's no excuse not to go. That's right. If there's one hunt worth taking seriously this Easter, it's the hunt for a great fare. That's where our low fare finder comes in. Simply enter your destination and your travel month, and you'll quickly be able to pinpoint the cheapest days to fly. Head to flysafair.co.za and use our low fare finder to lock down those Easter flights now. FlySafair, for the love of flying.
Baba Black Sheep. Have you any wool? Yes, sir. More than 3 bags full. We think beyond today, tomorrow, more. Look up, look far ahead. We may choose to leave the herd. There's greener grass where fewer care to tread. Baba Black Sheep. Proof of what we do. Better for clients for over 20 years. Courage, we hold the course for you. Baba Black Sheep. If you want more wool, it takes black sheep thinking. Camissa Asset Management. Invest different. Camissa Asset Management is a licensed FSP.
Look at camouflage, Dorf. I'm going hunting. Just me, nature, and my most underrated off-roader, a rental car. Hunting? You could fit that little car in your backpack, Dorf. I sit in the driver's seat. Baggage at the back, chairs on the roof. The kudu is going to get in and strap its own seatbelt, Savvy. Could do with more legroom, Dorf. Go hunt for a new 4x4 at WeBuy Cars. They got great deals. Oh, shot, Savvy.
Don't be doof, be savvy. We buy cars geared for that big trip, geared for you.
From the rolling hills to the call of the wild, this week, KZN's natural beauty takes center stage. The KZN Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, together with Ezemvelo KZN Wildlife, are gathering at Hilltop Camp, highlighting the province's conservation efforts and the unforgettable wildlife experiences waiting for visitors. Catch all the insights, highlights and live updates today on 702 Afternoons with Relebogile Mabotja and 702 Drive with John Pullman.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Good morning, Bongles and team. I like your question. How do they come up with these words? And based on what? But one that fascinates me is epic fury. Is it Epstein or is it epic? Which one is it?
Hi Bongani, this is Sibati. I will call the deployment of soldiers into Gauteng Operation Restoration, restoring order back to society.
Good morning, Bongani. I appreciate Operation Prosper, but I wonder how sustainable will it be, because these guys are the mining guys, the illegal miners. They are likely to step away because this project is going to go from now until April, I think you said. And from there, they are going to go back as soon as the soldiers go away. So how sustainable can they come up with how sustainable can it be rather? And maybe they need to come up with a way that they can, prosper forever, if you know what I mean.
Good morning, Bongani. It's Tobelan here at Q. Now we'll call it Operation Bopa Zonke. Operation Valela Zonke.
Bopa, of course, means to arrest. Valela, throw away in jail, all of them. So arrest all of them, throw them all in jail. That's what Bopa Zonke, Valela Zonke would mean. We're talking, of course, about the 550 soldiers that have been deployed to various parts of Gauteng. The president says it's going to cost around 80 million rand to deploy these troops all around this province. The idea is to fight, at least to aid the police, rather, in the fight against crime, specifically illegal mining in the province. It's called Operation Prosper. And I wondered if that's the kind of name you want to give an operation like this. Some suggestions, of course, Operation Restoration, Bopa Zonke. We're also talking about Operation Epic Fury. That's what Trump is calling the Middle East situation right now. I mean, it's a war, right? How do you come up with names for these things? I want something a little bit more frightening. Operation Iron Fist, right? Something like that. Because the idea is to get these criminals to quake in their boots, right? Operation Prosper, it sounds so demure, right? So lovely. We're all going to prosper now. No, man. Operation Iron Fist. Operation Basop.
I like
right?
Operation Basop.
Or Operation Basop with a finger. Something
tough.
Right?
EWN Sport.
I'm just laughing.
Operation
So
Basop sounds...
No, we're living in a very cotton wool generation where we have to be kind and loving to everybody. So we're Operation Prosper.
It's going to be so lovely.
So we're going to arrest you, but we'll be nice.
I tell you what, who's on an Operation Prosper? It's Mamelodi Sundowns, hey?
Yo. They have a chance to go top of the table tonight for 24 hours because, of course, Orlando Pirates playing tomorrow night. But they're playing Orbit College. That game is in Rustenburg. Anyway, once the season wraps, it's confirmed Sundowns will host German Bundesliga side Leipzig in a friendly in Pretoria in May. The draw for the Nedbank Cup semi-final was done last night, where the Premiership sides avoided each other. So TS Galaxy will play Milford and Durban City will play Casrick Stars.
Just looks so easy. Sorry.
So easy that Orlando Pirates aren't there.
No, I'm looking at the draw. I'm like, it would be so easy.
If you had made it.
I'd be lifting the trophy right now.
If you had got there.
Yeah, we didn't though.
If you had managed to win your match. Anyway, I was very sad that Jackson Spears was out. And then also in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, a mouth-watering showdown between Manchester City and Liverpool. Arsenal will travel to Southampton. Chelsea drew Port Vale. Last night, West Ham beat Brentford on penalties. They will host Leeds. Champions League round of 16. The first round later tonight, where Barcelona will play Newcastle. Spurs have travelled to Atletico Madrid. Atlanta welcome Bayern, and Galatasaray host Liverpool. Reds boss Arne Slot.
Last time when we played them, there was not a lot between us and them. We both got a penalty. Unfortunately, ours was overturned by the VAR and theirs was given. And in open play, I think we were quite similar, 50-50 game that we lost because of that penalty. Two very good teams playing against each other tomorrow evening.
The T20 Cricket World Cup team of the tournament includes two Proteas players, Lungi Ngidi and Aidan Markram. The team only returns today. They've been stuck there due to flight delays in the Middle East. Abroad, Sri Lanka appointed Gary Kirsten as head coach after Sanath Jasaria quit when the team was knocked out of the T20 World Cup. While in the local one-day cup today, top of the table, the Warriors are playing mid-table Dragons. And in rugby, Scotland, who have a chance to win the overall Six Nations, won't have key players for Saturday's must-win game with Ireland. In the front pack, Gregor Brown and Scott Cummings are both injured. Winger Duan van der Merwe still out. Also injured fly half Adam Hastings and props Elliot Miller-Mills and Nathan Macbeth. Cindy Paluta, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Catch up at the road, 16 before 9. It's been another busy morning. Lots of crashes around.
Indeed, Bongani, if you're travelling in the city of Tshwane, an accident along the N14 North that happened after Littleton Road is causing delays. There's also queuing traffic on the N1 North right as you approach the Flying Saucer interchange. While travelling in Joburg, do expect delays on the M1 North as well as the M2 West towards the Crown turn of peak time delays there, as well as on the N3 North between the Elands interchange and the Van Buren Road, queuing traffic there due to roadworks that were taking place earlier along this route. Please be on the lookout. More updates at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You hear that? That's the sound of business execution finally visible. No more chasing people and reports. No more disconnected systems. No more guessing if our business is performing or not. iStratGo connects strategy, people, performance, and day-to-day work into one clear software platform, so leaders can see what's working, what's not, and where to focus. Because when execution is visible, everything runs better. Book a demo on istratgo.com. istratgo.com.
Did you know that you have the power to ensure your daughter is fully protected from cervical cancer when she grows up? Yes, protecting a daughter from cervical cancer is absolutely possible. And all that you need to do is ensure that your daughter gets the HPV vaccine at the age of 9. The HPV vaccine gives your daughter the best possible protection against cervical cancer and can prevent her from becoming part of the statistics. This message is brought to you by the Department of Health.
In my industry, the mission is to turn the G in GDP green. After all, good business shouldn't cost the earth.
Get financial solutions for environmental and social impact. With RMB, sustainability yields more than good intentions. Trees and C's apply. RMB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized FSP and credit provider.
Coming up
on the Clement Manyatela Show
on 702.
Clement Manyatela on your radio between 9 and 12. Good morning.
Good morning.
We're having a conversation with Kabazela based on what's gone viral a little earlier on. Could your CEO do your job?
Group CEO.
Hey, you just. How many CEOs do we have? I think we've only got one now.
Well, but the structure of the organization is that we have a broadcasting CEO and we have the group CEO.
There's no broadcasting CEO
so
at the moment.
A broadcasting CEO would probably do the job because they get the nitty-gritties
Answer
of
the
the
question.
work.
Could your CEO
The
do your
group
job?
CEO
Be
would
careful
probably
now.
do it. Yeah.
Don't give a career-limiting answer.
I think Jonathan could probably do it.
I suppose the real point is that I don't think I could do his job.
Oh, no, I don't want to do his job.
I don't think I could, even if I wanted to.
No, even if I had any, I don't want to be in a position like that. But I think he would. Like, he's witty, he's very smart. He can be too honest probably on air and probably get into trouble about that.
Basically all the things you are. So, what's on the show today?
On the show today, we're going to start with the 702 open line. America may have been responsible for that strike attack on the Iranian elementary school. There are 165 young, innocent girls that have been killed, and America may be responsible for that. Isn't it interesting, Bongani, that the assumption from the onset was Israel did it? And I picked up that there wasn't a lot of outrage. And that's possibly because, well, we've seen Israel do the same thing in Gaza, killing thousands of young children. So it wasn't a surprise. But now that it's the US that may be responsible, and according to CNN and Reuters, evidence suggests so, one wonders what the consequences of these actions are going to be. So we'll chat about that on the open line. We'll also try and connect the dots around Morgan Maumela. How is it that even our investigative journalists haven't been able to get to him? Where is he? Is he still in the country? Is he still alive? Maybe the president must tell us, because one day on his walk...
I was about to say, ask an uncle. Call Joshua Dore.
Isn't that interesting? I really find that to be quite bizarre. So I want us to try and connect the dots today around perhaps the influence that this man has and the reason why we're unable to pin him.
But hasn't all of this also opened a lid on how tendering works and who gets what behind the scenes? That it isn't simply a transaction between a successful bidder who is then paid for delivering the job they said they would execute. There are all these paymasters who must be considered in the value chain. So much of the money must go to that one and that one and that one, which then tells you how often or likely these tenders are inflated to accommodate all the rent seekers. And the focus is not so much on the delivery, because even as we were listening to the evidence yesterday, how much was actually delivered?
What do you mean?
How much of the conversation centered around the fact that monies were paid, but was the work actually done?
Yeah.
That's part of the thing we need to think about.
Yeah, but then at 10 o'clock, we're going to speak to Fundi Sitebe, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Sizekaya Holdings. This is the new operator of the National Lottery. They start on the 1st of June, taking over from Ituba. Was it Ituba, ne? Yeah, Ituba.
Yeah, Panda
so
Push
what
and
are they
Play.
going to be doing differently? So that's a conversation between 10 and 11 o'clock. And I want to hear from the listeners. How would you want the National Lottery to change? At 11 o'clock, we do our World of Work feature. Today, we're discussing mobbing at work, when a group quietly and deliberately pushes you out, so you get isolated until you can't take it anymore and you leave. And then we wrap up the show at 11:30 with our health and wellness feature. Today we're discussing the importance of immunization for your kids. Do you keep record of their vaccination?
Clement Manyatela between 9 and 12.
Looking to upgrade your office furniture this year? Desk & Chair, the direct office furniture manufacturer, has a deal you don't want to miss. Get 5% cash back towards your existing office furniture with all purchases over 350,000 Rand. Contact Desk & Chair now for more info. Visit our newly renovated showroom in Midrand or shop online at deskandchair.co.za. Desk & Chair. Think, feel, work better. T's and C's apply.
For many women, a CV often becomes a list of qualifications, titles, and experience, while the strengths that shape real success remain overlooked. Empathy, resilience, and the ability to lift others. Momentum's She Owns Her Success campaign celebrates these invisible success codes, the qualities that may not appear on a traditional CV but leave a lasting mark. Using Momentum's AI-powered CV Builder, women can now bring those strengths to life. Visit sheownshersuccess.co.za and build a CV that reflects the fullness of who you are.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
8 minutes before 9 o'clock. As you know, we are huge supporters of the arts on this show. And every now and again, a performance comes along that isn't just about entertainment, but it's about moving you, challenging you, making you feel something deeper. One of South Africa's most celebrated choreographers, Gregory Makoma, is back with a brand new production called Genesis. It's described as a bold dance opera that blends movement, live music and poetry into a powerful experience. It's already premiered in Cape Town, and the production is now coming to the Joburg Theatre, and it's starting in 9 days' time, from the 19th to the 22nd of March. It explores big ideas, transformation, the cycle of existence, and of course the Vianney Dance Theatre is bringing this world-class creative team together. And if you've seen Gregory's work, you'll know it won't be just a show, but a journey. And he joins us now on the line. Greg, it's always a pleasure to chat to you. Good morning, and thank you for your time.
Good morning, Bongani, and always a pleasure to be chatting to you as well.
I understand you're not even in the country at the moment.
Well, I just came back yesterday.
Ah.
Yes.
Wow, why don't you go to the studio? Jet lag.
Yeah. But also, just thinking through the work that's coming to Joburg Theatre and putting it back again together after Cape Town,
all right,
which was really triumphant.
Why the title Genesis?
Well, Genesis evokes really the genesis of revolutionary ideas of the likes of Steve Biko, Frantz Fanon, Aimé Césaire, and just looking at the time that we live in, Bongs, we really are facing insurmountable problems that are brought to us by those who think that building hierarchies again, building empires is the way to formulate humanity. But, you look at those revolutionary ideas, they were all talking to humanity. They were all talking about rebuilding together as a society. And I'm challenging, I think, with this Genesis for us to rethink and maybe to rebuild again and to let go of things that have not worked in the past.
You're calling it a dance opera. Explain those two terms coming together.
It's bringing together voice, text, movement, and the architectural movement of just not the costumes, but also the visual aspect of it. So it really is a combination that stretches scale. It becomes intimate, but also epic at the same time. So allowing the audience to experience the narrative, not just in an intellectual level, but also visceral, through spiritual heightened vibrations that we find through music, that we find through the body, we find through breath and resonance. So I wanted to bring a spectacle, but that was also intimate, to using voice, using opera, using the ideas of performance in every aspect of it.
How difficult is it as a choreographer, as a creator, to push dancers? I mean, you're working with the Vianney Dance Theatre. We know how powerful the dancers are, particularly in terms of physical performances. But do you ever get stuck in an idea that the dancers are struggling to put to life?
Oh yeah, it happens all the time, Bongs. I mean, we for a fact that I'm creating all the time, so the ideas also tend to kind of like run in the same kind of way, and your thinking processes seems to be in a cycle, and you stop inventing yourself in a way that the dancers themselves can really find ways or new ways of pushing themselves and interpreting the ideas. So what do? Is to allow the performers to really find the freedom within the structure. And by finding freedom within the structure, then they are able to draw from other sources, to draw from other energies that they themselves revolutionize these ideas and bring the freshness in the room. So I love working with performers who are firstly thinkers, but also secondly who are just great in what they do.
In my world on radio, we say the format will free you. I want to know now, as you and I were discussing a little earlier on, you've just returned from overseas. Your work has traveled to cities around the world. I think the tally is even over 100. When you create, how much are you mindful of international audiences, or is the work always rooted in a South African perspective?
Bongs, that's a very good question. And when I think about making work, firstly, it's about creating work for a South African audience, and I'll tell you why. Because we as South Africans are very picky and choosy in terms of what we want to see. And that's why, sometimes we find it's a struggle to get audiences to walk into our theaters, because our audiences are of a high caliber in terms of thinkers, and they want high-end work. And if that work works in South African context, I believe it can work anywhere else in the world. And hence, I insist on premiering work in South Africa to test ground and to ensure that, all the loose ends are tightened before it can travel anywhere else in the world.
Despite an extraordinary career, lots of awards, global recognition, quite clearly, Greg, you're still hungry. What drives you creatively after all these years?
What's happening around us, exactly what's going on now in the Middle East is what really drives us to amplify the message of peace, of message of humanity. And I guess, in Genesis, it's what drives this notion of peace, this notion of wanting time to stand still for a moment, to pause for a moment, to edge us to rethink of our own actions towards others, and it what inspires me every day. For as long as we don't have peace in the world, I think I'll continue to create. I'll continue to amplify these messages.
All right, for people who want to come and see the show, what do you hope they will leave the theatre feeling and thinking about?
Well, firstly, it's hope. That things will get better, but also to reflect also on themselves. Now, what is it that they want to leave behind as they move forward in their own journeys? And I think it's critical and important to continuously reflect on where we are and where we want to be and how better we can actually achieve this together. So, hope is a big word, I think, today. Some people are living with hopelessness when they are terrified where they are in their own corners. But we still have an opportunity here to rethink of that word, hope.
Keep hope alive, I suppose, hey? Gregory Makoma's Genesis is on at the Joburg Theatre. It's one weekend only, from the 19th to the 22nd of March. So that's next weekend. You can go see the show. You can obviously get your tickets at the Joburg Theatre box office. Dancer, choreographer, author, and so much more, bringing a new production to the Joburg Theatre. I keep giving you all these free date ideas. I hope you're using them.
702 podcasts are on 702.co.za.
And that's where we'll leave it for this edition of 702 Breakfast. It's 9 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. President Cyril Ramaphosa has confirmed that 550 soldiers have been deployed to Gauteng to aid police in the fight against crime. The operation has been dubbed Prosper, with the aim of tackling rampant illegal mining in the province. Soldiers have also been deployed to other provinces, including the Western